This week on Waxing the Porpoise, G-Baby and the usual suspect Steve once again call upon special guest and cinematic shaman Chris from Channel 83 to help decode the French action horror cult banger Brotherhood of the Wolf from 2002. Side quests include Monica Bellucci's dumper, defamatory remarks hurled at the Frighteners, and a fun new segment involving really disgusting people and their negative IMDB reviews. Tonight, we dance the dance of blood. Anybody else see that owl? Let's wax this je ne sais quoi porpoise.
Chase, don't do that.
You see, we working on his brow chakra. We're just in back of the crown chakra.
Third time's a charm. The Boy Scout rule of deeds.
All right. Welcome to Waxing the Porpoise. We're back again here on episode 38 now, on December 22nd in the year of our Lord 2022. We are gathered again to discuss this time a French film called Brotherhood of the Wolf from 2002. Tonight you've got myself, Jim G. Baby.
It means you'll be psychically attacked.
And of course, as always, we have the usual suspect, Steve.
Moonlight Graham.
How's it going, Steve?
Baseball. It's good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. I got a wild hair for. I was like, oh yeah, Field of Dreams, dude. That's like a veritable treasure trove.
You're from the 60s.
Oh my God.
What?
You're from the 60s.
Peace, love, dope.
How about this? Peace, love, dope.
Oh, you're like a jukebox that I know all the records that are inside.
Like a cheap paperback. And once again, we have a 3-time returning champion now, Chris from Channel 83.
It went down the storm drains.
That's how it can travel the length of the city without anybody seeing it.
Hello.
How's it going, man?
I'm doing good. How about you guys?
Doing good. I don't recognize that clip.
That would be from 1974's It's Alive.
That's one I still haven't seen, but
Blasphemy.
I know you're a huge It's Alive and Larry Cohen guy, so it was between that and Q, the Winged Serpent, which I have seen, and I actually really like that one too. But
There's some good David Carradine drops in that.
yeah, I really like. I'm kind of partial to Michael Moriarty, especially the high-rise scene when he's like trying to get fucking paid. That part, I was like, oh, because everything I'd seen before that was like just him and like a really dry, stale fucking prosecutor in Law and Order. So when I saw him in that role, and he's pretty wild. He's like half cocked that whole fucking movie.
So weird that he's in Law and Order, because I've pretty much only seen him in Larry Cohen movies, and he's always weird.
Yeah, wasn't he in The Stuff also?
He was. And
he was pretty fucking batshit in that one too.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I thought you'd like that one. So yeah, we're back here to talk Brotherhood of the Wolf. As we were talking before we started, I had seen this one only a couple times, and it was pretty close to when it came out. And it was because I worked at Blockbuster. I was able to, otherwise I probably wouldn't have watched it or had the means back then. But it was one that it got picked up by a U.S. distributor, and when you hear the numbers, it didn't go off crazy, but given the investment, it went kind of gangbusters because they like did a pretty limited US theatrical release, and I think it made like $12 million or something like that off of like a $2 million distribution deal for the US. So it got a little bit of hype. I remember seeing the trailer around there 2001 2002, and I was like, oh shit, that looks dope. And so I've only seen it once or twice, and I remembered really liking it. And then I just flashed back to it today again, fucking almost 20 years on the dot later. I thought this would be a cool one to talk about. So, getting right into the meat of it, what did you think of this one, Steve-O?
I liked it a lot.
Did you?
I was a little,
Hell
yeah, I really did.
Sweet.
I kept thinking it had elements that reminded me of classic mid 90s Three Musketeers mixed with like a little Ghost in the Darkness
Yep.
and also a little like Mortal Kombat vibe, which I mean all three of those are just right in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, go ahead.
when it first started, I thought it might be a little cornball, but no, I didn't think it was at all. A little long. I felt like it went a little long, but I liked it a lot. So I can't really make any complaints on it other than maybe just the length a little bit. But yeah, I enjoyed every bit of it.
Sweet. And I meant to ask this before too. Do you remember seeing this at all, like way back in the day, like trailers, or have you heard anything of anyone else talk about this, or was this like complete blindside?
Oh no, I had no inkling of what this movie was at all,
Okay.
whatsoever.
Chris, what about you? I know you've seen this, but what's your quick history on Brotherhood?
So I actually did see this in theaters when it came out.
Oh, nice.
Apparently, it was the sixth highest grossing French film of all time in America.
Wow.
Which is kind of weird because, like, it seems like it should be well known, but I don't think I've ever really run into anyone that's seen it. But yeah,
Do you know off the top of your head what maybe like number one or number two would
some
be?
shit
'Cause
I've never heard of.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can't think of like, and that chocolat.
It was like something from the 60s was number one. And I think Amelie was on there, which is one I've heard of, but doesn't really appeal to me, so I've never seen it.
Yeah, I've never seen it either. Although I've heard, like, I have a preconceived notion, like, that it's just basically a international chick flick that's got some weird angles on it. But my wife has been trying to get me to watch it forever, and I just haven't. Not out of spite or anything, just like I just haven't. But she described a couple scenes in it, and I was like, oh, that's not what I was picturing in my head. So it sounds like it could be an interesting watch. But yeah, that is one that's more well known. That wasn't at the top of my head, but I was thinking it would have had to have been something with Jean Reno in it.
You would think, but those probably qualified as like American productions or something.
And speaking of Jean Reno, I guess I wrote a quick note as soon as I saw Vincent Castle, who was in this. This is the one-armed man, Steve, with the funky ass gun. Our main baddie, Jean-Francois.
Oh yeah, the guy who looks like he could be Matthew Lillard's.
Yeah. He does. Holy shit.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but yeah.
He was in a movie with Jean Reno called Crimson Rivers. Have you ever seen Crimson Rivers, Chris?
Never heard of it, but
okay.
I feel like Vincent Castle is just like the French guy. If there's a French guy in movies, it's him.
Yeah, it's a little obscure, but it's like a hidden gem. So I thought you may have seen it before, but it's actually really good. I just watched it last year, and it's actually it's like a whodunit, and it's French, but it leans pretty hard into like horror. Actually, like the killer they're chasing is pretty creepy, and it's pretty graphic, but it's a really good movie. I didn't know if that one got like an American release, but yeah, anyway, seeing Vincent Castle, he's weird. I looked at his filmography, and he's done a ton of like he's a French guy, and he's done a lot of acclaimed French films, but he's also it looks like every 5 or 7 years he'll like pop in for an American film, and he speaks good English. And I think the last thing I saw him in, he was in Underwater with
oh yeah, I forgot he was in that.
What's
Kristen
her face?
Stewart, T.J. Miller.
Yeah, which I went in that blind. It was just like at the theater, and we had an opportunity to go, and we went, and I walked away. I was like, it was a fun popcorn movie. But yeah, it was cool. Okay, so getting into, I guess I was trying to watch this, and this time I was like, fuck, there's so much going on, and it's kind of hard because the dub that I watched is a little distracting. But Basically, we're in like late 18th century. This story is based on a supposedly true story, kind of mixed with like a regional myth called the Beast of Jevedon, which there's reports, sketches of this monster that's supposed to look like a hyena, lion, some kind of cryptid type deal. That it was estimated in like a 3-year period to have killed, some reports say up to 100 people. Others say up to 500 people over a 3-year period, depending on the source you go by. And so this film's kind of playing up to that and taking liberties, and that's the basic crux of this story is this beast that's massacring South Central France. So I guess instead of Crips and Bloods having beef out in South Central, we got beef bourguignon going on with like crepes and beignets.
Like, nice. I was thinking crepes. I was like, I can't think of anything French with a B. Berets,
creme fraiche,
scarves, and Vespa scooters.
So I guess the two main guys that we stick with most of this movie, I'm gonna fuck up his first name probably, Gregoire de Fronsac.
I was having a hard time with some of the French, like even just the titles and the names. I was like, this is going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So I kept thinking of that guy as Front Sack because I thought it was funny.
Did you also watch it dubbed, Steve?
I did, and I know we've talked about before. I'm a big closed captioning guy, but like we've learned with maybe it was Versus,
Yeah.
or a different one where it was dubbed. If it's dubbed, I can't do the closed captioning also because they don't match, and it just like it fries my brain. And the dub that I watched, the audio quality was good enough to where I could hear everything. So yeah, I went to the dub and then turned off the closed captioning and didn't have a problem, thankfully.
Right on.
Yeah, front sack. At least he didn't have a back sack. That's a good.
Sure.
Yeah. So from here on out, I'll just call him Fronsac because that's what he's mainly called. But this guy, I kept looking at him and I was like, he reminds me of fucking someone, and I can't put my finger on it.
You know who it is?
Who?
Because I was thinking the same thing. And he looks like a cross between like Gerard Depardieu and Uma Thurman. That's what I decided on eventually.
Nailed it.
But yeah, he does have a very familiar looking French face.
It's like it was like chameleon like, because it was like in a one scene I'd be like, oh, he looks like, and I would lose it every time. And I think at the end I didn't go outside the box you did, but I think I arrived at he looks like a cross of Robert Sean Leonard. Steve, you'll know Boondock Saints, one of the brothers. Not the white trash looking dude, Norman Reedus, but the other brother, the better looking
the
of the two.
Not famous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He looks like a cross between him and a young Mickey Rourke. Is the best I could approximate it to. Like if you took like half and half, like nose up and down. I kept getting like Highlander vibes too. I don't know if that was like this kind of era, but I was like, he's got like a Lambert thing going on maybe too. But anyway, so he plays. He's like a weird like Renaissance, a naturalist, taxidermist,
Renaissance man.
Yeah, Brian Kinney,
Highlander vibe. Jack of all trades, master of none.
And then his right hand man is a Native American named Manny, who is, I think it's an anachronism I read, but he's an Iroquois Indian of the Mohawk tribe, and he is played by Mark Dacascos, who he met in New France, aka Canada, and I recognize him from Double Dragon. Have you ever seen Only the Strong, Chris?
No. When I think Mark Dacascos, I think Iron Chef America and also Double Dragon.
Right. Yeah. Those are his. Although recently, I think most people will recognize him. He played one of the
John Wick. Yeah.
Yeah. Like a main or lesser bad guy in John Wick 3. I was happy to see him in that. I was like, fuck yeah. He's getting some cachet in like a top tier film, because I mean most of his filmography is pretty kind of like B to C tier stuff. But I will say, Only the Strong, one of his early films from like early '93. If you're a fan of like Kickboxer, Bloodsport, those kinds of movies, Only the Strong's fucking awesome. It's right in that vein. But one other that I had to peel out just because of his character's name in the movie. He was in Wing Commander 4, The Price of Freedom, where he played Second Lieutenant Troy Cat Scratch Carter.
Hell yeah.
I was like, that's pretty fucking rad. But then I was like, wait, they made a 4th Wing Commander? Holy fuck.
That's literally my favorite thing with movies, when I find out a franchise that A, I didn't know existed, and B, there's like 7 of them.
Yeah. I remember Wing Commander because this was like, I think this was Matthew Lillard riding his Scream high, and like the year after they made because Wing Commander was like an old shitty Nintendo like Genesis game, and they made it a movie, and they put Matthew Lillard in it, and it bombed. It was like hot fucking garbage. And that was the last I heard. I didn't know they made a sequel so when I was running through getting familiar with this cast and I saw Wing Commander 4, I was like, holy shit, which was only upstaged by his character name, which that's just Troy Cat Scratch Carter. So these two form so basically, a shit ton of people died in this region of France. I took it like they're sent as like a special detachment or like some kind of like emissary of sorts from like the British or the French ruling elite to go and kind of snuff this out. Like what the fuck's going on here?
Yeah, he's like the king's on staff naturalist, basically.
Right. So like,
yeah, so there was a detachment sent to kill the fucking thing, and then he's like the follow-up, like, hey, I want you to do like an autopsy on this bitch when they Duhamel guy kills the thing. That's what I got anyway.
Okay. Yeah, some of this was unclear, and I'm to be honest, I probably wasn't paying super close attention because I just wasn't. But
it's a terrible thing to admit on a podcast about watching movies.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm trying to be transparent, man. This beginning, like, I had to start the beginning. Well, I was doing it while I was working too, to my credit, but I mean, that's still poor planning on my end. But I had to watch like the first fucking 20 minutes 4 times to like for it to like stick onto my brain. So I couldn't remember like exactly how they were entered into the fold in this.
So you made this a 4-hour movie, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, standard me.
Well, hopefully the lack of paying close attention will lead to some funny misunderstandings.
It could. I feel like the longer it dragged on, though, like I paid more attention.
He gets to the end, he's like, Internal Affairs was setting them up the whole time?
One of the things in this I noticed that jumped out right away was like the Matrix effect is very real. Like the wanting to fucking, I mean, they didn't straight wholesale rip off bullet time, but it seemed like they tried to like stylize, like they did these really choppy, like real time fucking slow-mo, like weird,
like the
zoom.
Speed ramping.
Yeah, that shit kind of, some of it was cool in the beginning when it shows like, okay, Manny's a badass and he can take on like 8 dudes, but I feel like they overdid it a little bit with that. And I made a note too, I think right after this, they're doing like, I put conversational bullet time because they did this effect when like just Franzak is like talking with a person and they did this weird slow-mo, like they're like he's throwing a punch, but they're just having a conversation. I was like, oh, it's really weird decision to put that into 2 people talking, but
yeah, I mean, that's why I brought this up in the same breath as Versus. It's not 100% Matrix bullet time, but there was a spate of movies after like The Matrix and Crouching Tiger where they're like, we're gonna do a little bit more stylized action than just like having Arnold or Van Damme like shoot someone or just straight up beat their ass.
Yeah, like beat the shit out of someone and have a pun like just ready at the hip. Yeah, it definitely seemed like whether it's like wire work or just like making everything look super fucking cool. Although I did like that. And what are those things those fuckers are wearing? What are those like drovers? They look pretty badass with like the fucking face cover, those coats and the hat.
Yeah,
I was like, dude.
I mean, that's the only time a French person in a tri-corner hat has looked cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that those little outfits were
Accurate.
dope. I would say 45 minutes to an hour of this film were the hardest for me. I feel like you could just drop in at like an hour and 15 and still enjoy. And I mean, there's a lot of like intrigue and setup of like what's going on with like France and like how they're ruling their little fiefdoms and shit. That was just like boring me to tears. But it perked up once we got Monica Bellucci on the scene. The friend, she's an Italian actress. You know what I'm talking about, Steve? She's got a dumper that won't quit.
One of the ladies of negotiable affection.
Yeah. A woman of the night, as it were.
Where did you hear that expression, negotiable affection? Is that a known thing?
I heard it from someone, and I just fucking loved it.
Yeah, that is hilarious.
You know, it's funny. I just heard, like, I was talking about to you, Steve, about that dude, Ricky Jay, who does, he's like a card guy, magician, like a famous one. And he's talking about like a history of magic. And he's talking about someone, he says that exact phrase, like, there was this old magician that would do these tricks, and his attempt at the time, while he was like writing down all of his patter and like how he does certain tricks, he first started doing it not to get famous but to get laid. And he used that phrase. He was like, so he would use, you know, the ball and cups routine to try to like curry favor with a woman of negotiable affections. And it was just his like super over the top euphemistic, like,
yeah, I like it.
Nice way of saying whore, you know, but
sure, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a coinky dink. I just got turned. Dude, Ricky Jay is fucking awesome. If you ever go on YouTube, he does some fucking wild shit with cards, like insane. Like how do you do that? Like David Blaine level shit, but without like the gimmicky. I'm the devil.
I'm Satan. Yeah.
Yeah, Monica Bellucci. Fuck, she's so fine. She is. I
I
didn't realize how much of a wagon she is pulling, dude. She has got a straight bumper. It's like insane.
Well, you know that she has like
There's
like the cage that she's wearing, right? That's not all ass. Some of that's aftermarket.
A bustle.
What was that? I didn't know you were wearing a bustle. Tombstone. Okay. Well, either way, it was easy on the eyes. So yeah, then we got. What were you going to say?
I'm just laughing at how distracted you are about this. Anyway, wolves.
Yeah. That's a good segue. Speaking of wolves, our guy Manny, it does a couple scenes to emphasize that he is a fan of wolves. The wolf is his spirit animal, and then there's like a pile of like 150 of them that proceed to get like butchered right in front of him, and he's like, "Fuck, yeah, that was pretty hardcore." And they're like gutting him in front of him. And there's this particular one that's this white wolf that is able to escape all this carnage. That is like a totem or like a signpost for them and his group later on in the film. But I know I'm skipping over quite a lot here, but just trying to get to like really the good stuff is once things start picking up. Like, did you like Steve, like the investigation side, like the early forensic stuff that Franzak's doing?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, and I'm not a huge fan of over the top like supernatural stuff, so I was really hoping it wasn't like a demon wolf or something. So
right.
as you kind of find out, like, oh no, this is a real thing. I was very pleasantly surprised that they weren't going to go down the road of it's a devil hound, but what, you know, because in my mind it's like, well, you can't beat that. You could never defeat that. So how is this plane going to land? So then when you find out it's actually a real animal, it's like, okay, well, you know, let's see where this goes.
Did you like the hair, the fish that had hair on it? That whole scene at the dining room table?
Yeah, where Jean-Francois,
Jean-Francois.
He knew he was full of shit.
Yeah.
Jean-Francois. Yeah, I feel like Joey in that one episode of Friends where he's like, trying to speak
Yeah.
French, but everything comes out just like blah 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 blah.
Dude, it reminds me of my father-in-law. He has really bad hearing, and so like sometimes he's like certain he can say something correctly, and it's a shot for shot of that Joey episode. Like my wife was like our dog at the time, her name was Nala. My father-in-law, he couldn't say it. He would say Narla, like with a hard R in between, and he's like, I'm saying Narla. They're like, no. And then so my wife was like, nah. And she's like, la. Put them together. Narla. She was like, what the fuck? Like, he just couldn't do it, man. Anyway.
Je m'appelle Claude.
Le défi pouf.
Je te plie bleu.
I mean, I liked the first hour of it, but right at the time where I was like, all right, let's get to the wolf, or the beast, they dropped it in there. So I wasn't really super bored. I felt like it was pretty well paced out as far as 2.5 hour movies go.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, it was something about the first hour. Like maybe if I had been actually watching it as a someone who watches a film like a normal person and sits down and watches it, wouldn't have been like that. But
that helps.
Yeah. So, another point that I put on here is one of the first things that they kind of tease out, a little bit of foreshadowing, is when he's talking to Jean-Francois, our main bad guy, and he shoots one of these wolves, and he talks to him about he uses, I only use silver bullets. What's he say? He's like every bullet I have
You're wrong.
is what's he say? I'm wrong.
It's got like a signature.
Yeah.
It's when
Oh yeah, those dudes are fighting, then they start playing dirty, and they're like gonna fuck Manny up after he just bodied 35 men, and he shoots one of them as like a sign of good faith. Okay, that's right.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, you used a silver bullet. What are you trying to fight? Like werewolves?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, I just like to leave my signature." And yeah, I thought that was cool foreshadowing without being so obvious that you're like, "This is going to come into play later."
Yeah, because later it's like an hour and a half later.
Yeah.
Although,
hey,
it's funny because there was like one or two of those bad guys who, I don't know if they were like a weird gypsy clan or something, but there was one or two of them that were very distinctive.
Yeah, I was wondering about
how
that.
many times are these guys going to get their fucking asses beat? And they just coming back with the same vigor. I couldn't believe it.
And then there were like two Irish women for some reason.
Yeah, and they just get bodied immediately.
There's a lot of kicks to the chest in this movie.
Dude, I seriously put this note.
Yeah.
I was like, this is the most front kicks I've ever seen in a movie. This has to be the Guinness record.
I like it.
But in that same silver bullet scene, let's not blow past the recurring themes of the movies that I've reviewed with you guys, of the bad guy having some specialized weapon.
Yep.
Because he has like a blunderbuss or a musket or whatever you would call it, with like some weird grip because he's missing.
Yeah.
Although I feel like those were shot with one hand anyway, so I don't really know why he needed that.
I was thinking that too, and I was like, maybe it's because it was like a higher caliber. It was just a fucking hog piece that he really had to get that extra grip on. But I did like the design of that gun, that fucking like horn kind of thing that like curled around his arm like a snake, was just like in the first stage of wrapping around your arm. It looked fucking pretty badass. But yeah,
I think he did say like he has to just have everything bespoke because he's just a rich fuck.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, if you imagine if you imagine trying to shoot like a rifle one-handed, it would be cool to have that extra like stability brace on there. But yeah, I mean, it would just look like a little hand cannon that you wouldn't really need it, but it was pretty cool looking.
Yeah, and so this guy is one-armed, quote unquote, when we meet him. So that's kind of like his gimmick, or what
That's his arc. He grows it back.
Yeah. I think pretty close after this, our homeboy, our main star, Franzak, is doing an autopsy on a fresh murder victim from this beast of Gévaudan, and he finds a steel. Is it steel? A steel tooth shaped something that's been like, machined or created. He's like, yeah, this is fucking artificial. It's like we're not dealing with like something natural, like a natural kind of beast or something. So that's like the other kind of like hint that maybe this is something more grounded in reality and not like a demon dog. And then right after this too, I put one of my favorite scenes is so Franzak is with his like, I don't know, it's weird. Monica Bellucci kind of befriends him. Kinda, he's kind of keeping her at arm's length, although they are fucking. But he has this crazy ass dream with her in it. You guys remember that one?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
And I liked the. It looked like it was probably partially practical, maybe some digital effects. Like as they zoom out to her face, it starts like this weird like lattice shit is coming down her eyes. It's almost like this metallic, and she starts kind of turning demonic a little bit, and she's like brings up a knife, but then they do this like they pull out on this big wide shot, and he's sitting on this bed and like these like really oppressive, crazy looking like trees or I don't know. That scene was super cool, and then it kind of zooms in as she comes down with the knife, like stabbing him in the side, and he fucking wakes up. That was one of my favorite scenes. I was like, oh man, that was fucking really cool.
Well, yeah, because she already stabbed him earlier, so...
Well, that was just like foreplay.
Yeah, but for a second, I was like, holy shit, is she like really about to kill this guy? Like...
I feel like if you're going to get into blood play, you need enthusiastic consent beforehand.
Yeah. I was like, is she? Yeah, I was like, yeah, she's licking the blood off the old blade there. So, I think pretty shortly after this, we get our first glimpse actually of this fucking beast. I mean, I don't want to be too hard on it because this is a lower budget film and it's from 2002. But I put down, I was like, this beast CGI is fucking trash. It's really bad, and it's jarring how like stark it is. What do you guys think of the beast? How they presented it?
Well, I'm the layman here, so I mean, yeah, it didn't look very good, but part of me was thinking, I wonder if they're intentionally making it look kind of shitty to be sort of ambiguous. Maybe that's me giving it too much credit. I mean, it did look pretty bad, so I was trying to assign a positive motivation for it, but that might be misguided.
I think when it's in like weird lighting sources where there's shadows on it, that's when it really looks pretty shitty. But if it's in a constant light source, it's okay. And there were scenes where it was a practical puppet that looked pretty good.
Some of the more close-ups, like when you can see like, oh, there's like an eye going on in there, and it's like, it's wearing the suit. There was a couple of scenes when it was like going through and like busting through like wood beams that looked okay, but yeah, when it was kind of zoomed out and you got a full picture of the thing and it's like it's hurtling through the air, I think is when it was most distinctly bad to me.
Yeah. I mean, I guess didn't Lord of the Rings come out in 2001 also?
Yeah. Although that's
a basis of comparison, but they had way more money.
Yeah, and tons more resource, and like they probably I can't remember what the figure was, but I'm sure they had hundreds strong team on just doing the CGI and digital effects and stuff like that. That's actually I think I mentioned this back when you were still doing Channel 83. Have you since seen The Frighteners by Peter Jackson?
Yeah, and I didn't like it that much.
God damn it.
It was very long.
Wow. All right. Well, that's a dog. That's a fight for another day. But anyway, that in order to make those ghost effects in The Frighteners, Peter Jackson cobbled up. He founded Weta Digital, which was they got their foothold in, and they did a couple other things, and they springboarded from that to doing all of the effects for the Lord of the Rings. They won like Oscars, and they become like a big name in CGI digital effects. So I thought that was an interesting little
wasn't
nugget.
Phantoms more or less just like a pretense to get funding to make Weta so that he could then do Lord of the Rings?
Do you mean The Frighteners?
Yeah, same thing.
You said don't do that. You said Phantoms. Which, hey man, I like Phantoms.
Affleck was the bomb in Phantoms, yo.
Have you ever seen Phantoms, Steve?
Phantoms? No.
Ben
I haven't
Affleck?
seen it either.
Oh,
I don't think
I've
so.
I've seen
It's
The
fun.
Phantom.
with Zane Man,
Okay, that's what
the
I'm
purple-
thinking. I think I've seen
the purple
that.
suit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You should listen to your pal Billy Zane. He's a cool dude.
I just was watching another thing the other day. He read for the role of Biff in Back to the Future originally. I was
That's
like, what?
horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, huge side tangent. That sucks. You didn't like the Frighteners, motherfucker.
Can't win them all.
That's true.
They put together some pretty elaborate traps pretty fucking fast for that beast, didn't they?
Yeah, but I mean, so did Arnold in Predator and any other thing that involves like elaborate, intricate traps. I feel like the logistics isn't working out there, so I kind of just like have to write it off. But yeah, I like going into this.
They had some cool ones.
They did.
They had some really cool traps.
And I liked what Manny said to hype up. What's that other little guy's name? The Marquis. Fuck. It's such a weird ass name, but they have like this little hanger on dude that's kind of like following around. He's got like a fucking bow and arrow or a crossbow.
He's like the main guy. I mean, it's who you start and end the whole movie with.
Yeah, so he's like an old man, and then he's telling the story. But I mean,
his character's name is Thomas Dapshare.
Yes.
God, I hate French.
And his name is Jeremy Renier, which just sounds like a French version of Jeremy Renner.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and you got the bow thing timed together. Yeah, so he's like tagging on with these guys. I like what Manny says before they go into like this next set piece where they're like really trying to like drop the hammer on this fucking beast. He says he's got this dope ass war paint too on his face, by the way, that like triangular. And he says, "Tonight we will dance the dance of blood." Fuck yeah, let's go. Right, like this is
Dude, Manny's the fucking man. And don't ever say let's go like that ever again.
I didn't mean
Let's
it like
fucking
that.
go.
I didn't mean it like that.
Yeah.
Wasn't that one of the things you hated, Jim?
You know why.
Yeah. You know what I
You've
meant.
become the very thing you sworn to destroy.
I know what I meant. Yeah, so this... Oh, yeah. And this scene... What do you guys recall what the shit is that Manny gives the little marquee dude? Like before they go into
I think
battle?
it's just nondescript, like Native Americans are magical trope.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it gave him anything specific.
He gives him this shit, and he's like, "It'll be good for you. It'll make you wise or something." And he's like...
I don't remember that.
It's right before that whole trap set piece that's super dope. Like they're
the little mushroom thing. I thought you were talking about the powder that comes up later.
No, yeah, the thing that he gives the antidote to that chick, and she comes out. No, it's like he puts something on the end of his finger. He's like, "Yeah, try this," and then
I just assumed it was mushrooms.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's some sort of plant.
Well, that
hallucinogenic plant.
That little dude, he says, he's like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Yeah, I don't feel anything." Boom, and he's just out like that.
Yeah.
It reminded me of that Workaholics when he drinks the fucking Epicac. He's like, "Yeah, look at me, I'm fine." Oh, I'm gonna throw up.
Oh yeah. Oh look at me, I'm puking.
Oh shit, I'm gonna throw up. Yeah. So yeah, then he comes too. I didn't understand the point of that part, but yeah, I put dope trap setup. This whole scene was like they had like 3 or 4 pretty intricate fucking traps going on, which
Can I interject real quick? The mushroom thing reminded me, without saying who it is, definitely not our friend Dick Dog. Definitely not our friend Dick Dog. Because he would not, I mean, I would never tell such a story about him out of school. And he definitely didn't tell me not to tell this story on his episode. But one time, a friend of ours, Wink, took mushrooms on this camping trip that we all went on. And after like 15 or 20 minutes, he's like just being a fucking weirdo walking around. He's like, "Yeah, I'm not really feeling anything. You know, I got kind of like a body high, but I'm not really getting any visuals." And then comically 5 seconds later, he looks at us and like points at the stump on the ground. He's like, "You guys see that owl?"
dude.
And then he starts taking pictures with a digital camera an inch off the ground Like we look over and we're like, hey, friend of ours that isn't Dick Dog. And he's leaned over with a fucking camera an inch off the ground, just taking pictures.
Yeah, so he's not even taking pictures of the stump where he just thought was an owl. You
guys see that owl?
Yeah, he's pointing the camera straight down at the ground, like 2 inches in front of his feet, taking pictures. And looks up, and I'm like, I'm dying from the whole "did you see the owl" thing. But then, yeah, he pulls up, and he's just red faced as shit, and he's like hoarsely like laughing because he knows the absurdity of what he's doing, but he just can't not. Dude, I died when he was like, it was such a perfect like moment of timing where he's like, yeah, I'm not getting any visuals or anything like that. There's like 5 or 6 of us sitting around, and it was like quiet as shit. You couldn't hear anything for a full like 4 or 5 seconds. He's like, anybody else see that owl? Like, dude. Yeah, that one brought the house down.
The timing was so fucking funny.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. I was like, fuck. I was like, there was moments, and I remember him saying like, yeah, maybe on another episode. But yeah, that's definitely a top 5 for me moment. So yeah, this trap setup is awesome. I made a couple notes here. One that I thought was kind of funny was when, again, the little guy, the Marquis, I can't remember his name. He gets
Thomas Dapchair.
Dapchair gets fucking, the beast comes at him and like grabs him his arm, and he's pulling him like a rag doll. And Franzak whips around, hits him one time with his gun, and it fucking like ejecto-ceto cuzzes him at like 45 miles an hour against the wall. I was like, why did that happen? Like it like shot him off this beast, and it's like he's done. But immediately after that, one of my favorite scenes is like Manny comes around and in like one motion jump hits this fucking like triggers this big old log o' spikes that's like that swings, you know, like perpendicular. And he does that dope ass jump dive under it, like, whoosh, and it fucking just tags the beast. Yeah. I was like, dude, that's like, it looked like he committed to that move, dude. That was,
you know what the best part of that scene is that I have the movie playing in the background, and it is that scene, and it's like you were doing a director's commentary on it.
Not bad for someone who half watched it.
Well, that was just the slow shit at the beginning, but yeah, dude, that part I was just like, oh yeah, that was so dope. But this beast just keeps wearing it.
My lady got a good kick out of him being ragdolled by the beast. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. It just struck me like, it's like, why would that gunshot eject this man from the clutches of this beast? Like it was like he shot him against that wall.
Especially as we are soon to find out, it is wearing armor.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I liked was it's sort of following Franzak, like he's the main hero, you know, focal point of the movie. But I mean, my boy Manny's the hero of the entire movie, I think, and I think he's the main good guy.
Oh yeah.
That, you know, that Franzak is sort of just playing second fiddle to. He's a fucking badass.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a Green Hornet situation.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I totally know what you mean.
Yes, you do. I'm glad you know what I mean.
It's like,
I wish I did.
It's also like Big Trouble in Little China. Like, where you think it's like Kurt Russell is the man. It's like, no, he's a fucking buffoon. And I feel bad now too. I can't remember the actor's name or the character, but there's this, the right-hand man is the badass who's just like cleaning house, just like Manny. He's like beating the shit out of everyone. He's taking on 40 people at a time. But yeah, Manny is like, he's awesome. And that, I think this is one of my first tastes of like Mark Dacascos. I think after this I saw Only the Strong because it was recommended, and then I was like, oh yeah, he was in fucking Double Dragon, which is horrible.
Horribly good. Robert Patrick.
I need to flash back to that one. I haven't seen it in a long time. I think the last thing I saw was like I saw Red Letter Media watched Double Dragon, Or maybe it was like the reboot that they did with Marlon Wayans. I think that's the one.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah. Like
wow,
2008 or 11 they did Marlon Wayans and a bunch of other nobodies, and Jeremy Irons fucking just going ham. He committed just like in the same way Raul Julia did as Bison. Like he fucking like played it like I am a fucking excellent actor and this movie's terrible, but I'm giving it my all.
I don't know if that exists because I just looked it up and I don't see it.
Or no, it's not Double Dragon.
You're talking about Street Fighter, maybe?
No. It's Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, I do remember that.
It's the D&D that gets me. Yeah. And it looked like the font, like it had like snakes were like the letters and shit. So it looked. I was thinking in my head, I got it crossed up with Double Dragon. Anyway, yeah, that's just a good time. In the same way that Street Fighter is, I think, if we can all agree on that.
We can.
Okay.
One other thing I really liked was how through the first, I don't know, half or 2/3, or I don't know, the first 4.5 hours of this movie, Manny was the only one just like routinely kicking ass. So in my mind, I was like, maybe Frontsack's like a little bit of a bitch. But then when he starts kicking ass too, it's like, hell yeah.
Yes.
That was probably my favorite scene, honestly, where he starts naming names.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
That scene is fucking badass. And I guess just to back up real quick, when I did like how you could tell that like it affected him like so Manny gets fucking like ambushed and fucked up, and I think Frontsack is like tied up somewhere else doing something else, but yeah, Manny gets ambushed and fucking murdered, which that's probably my biggest gripe of this. It's like I felt like it wasn't equivalent to his level of badassery. He should have gone out more hardcore. I was like, the way they take him out was pretty unceremonious to me.
Yeah, because it's basically a repeat of the exact same fight we saw like 30 minutes into the movie, except this time he dies. But he does get shot, so that's not really...
Yeah,
you know,
it's actually kind of an inversion of that first one where it's like he beats most everyone up and that dude saves him, and then that is kind of cool how they kind of bookended it or mirrored that way. Like instead this time he comes out to end the fight, it's fucking killing him, and also at the same time cluing in Frontsack on exactly who's behind all of this shit. So the silver bullet comes back into play because he does the autopsy on Manny. He's like, oh, silver bullet. Okay. Yeah. It's fucking.
Yeah. So I guess at this point we should probably mention like my least favorite character in this movie, which is the
daughter,
Romani or Gallic tribeswoman that just everyone decides not to kill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one it's weird how she kind of slinks around this whole movie, and she's just like, like she's like, "Fuck you." At the beginning, Manny feels bad for her, like she's getting hassled, and then she turns heel immediately, and she's like, "Oh no, I'm just a bitch, and I want to fuck you up with all my lackeys behind me." And she's like they say she's like a witch doctor or something, but that was another thing I didn't really like. It's like they keep slipping her in like she's important, like she's not.
She's just annoying.
She's just a signpost of like, you're about to get fucked over. She's on, I don't know. I take
that back. I should say Jean-Francois is my least favorite character in the movie.
Like the way it was acted, or do you think it did its job in making?
I mean, the things he did towards the end are certainly not ideal.
Right. But did you like him as a villain?
Oh yeah, Vincent Castle did a good job. Okay. I think.
What? Just because he tried to bang his sister?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, they are royalty, so that's kind of like par for the course. So
yeah,
keep that.
It's funny we haven't mentioned
intact.
What's her name. We haven't mentioned what's her bucket. Yeah, I didn't think she was that interesting of a character at all. She was just kind of there.
Yeah, I didn't want to broach her because I just felt like it wasn't worth talking about, and it was uninteresting in the grand scheme of this film, what it's like really driving at. I mean, she serves a function, and I mean, she wasn't a terrible actress, but I don't think
he's just putting the pussy on a pedestal.
Yeah, it's like, dude, Monica Bellucci's the one with the dumper, and she's fucking looking out for you, maybe. And this chick's just like, a red herring. Yeah, she didn't do anything for me, like in terms of like the character or furthering the story or anything like that. So I didn't really want to touch on her too much. But
yeah, I mean, she was cute, but also kind of annoying in that coy, distant thing. It's like, all right, well, whatever.
So from this point, oh yeah, we got to get back to this part because this is where it gets into high gear. I'm like, that's right. This is why I really fucking love this movie. So I really bought up until this point. I'm like, this Franzak guy and the actor who's playing him, I'm like, he's good enough, he's decent or whatever. But when Manny dies, and that is my main gripe, he should have gone out like way better. They could have fixed that, in my opinion. But when he does die, I totally bought Franzak's like reaction to it. I liked that a lot.
For me, I think my problem with Manny dying is that it's just so tropey. Like, you could predict it as soon as you see the character introduced.
Mm-hmm.
And for a movie that's like fairly unique, I just hoped that they would have found a better way to resolve the movie rather than just having that guy die, because we all saw it coming, right?
Yeah, it's going to give our main character that last fucking like that little extra that he needs to overcome, like having the "you killed my brother." Yeah. Although I'm also fine with them taking him out cuz I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff too. I just wish they would have done it in a more badass way that was like up to the standard at which he doled out badassery. Like,
also, this does suffer from the Lord of the Rings thing of having like 5 different endings, and the last thing we needed was another ending that explained what happened to Manny afterwards.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's one of these things about this. I was like, fuck, there's 25 minutes left. I was like, the movie's over. That's probably another gripe that I have with this upon revisiting it after 20 years. But yeah, getting to like the badass part, Franzak, he's fucked up. And earlier in the film, I think they did well to show that Franzak's in the face of like, all these bigots and shit in France that are like thinking that he's a servant or his help, and whereas Franzak sees Manny as like an equal, and he even goes out of his way to call him his brother. And that's the way he treats him too, with a lot of respect. I liked that without it being too like heartstringy or sappy. But yeah, when he dies and he loses it, and then he's like, all right, game on, motherfucker, and he puts that dope ass fucking face paint on, and then then he's like, yeah, I'm fucking shit up right now. And he starts just beating wholesale ass. And then he comes upon, I know I'm breezing over this whole other side plot of the cultists and the elite and the royals that are all into some weird blood magic ritualistic shit. When he goes out and he starts calling out all their names, and he does that dope ass fucking flip. I remember that from the trailer when he does the hero fucking drop to one knee, and then he comes out with those knives out the back of him, the 2 fucking blades, and they go whoop, 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 like a fucking pizza cutter. I was like, yes, this is what I fucking remember.
Because did that come after? The part I really liked is when he gets what appears to be poisoned and dies.
Yeah, I totally breezed over that too.
And then that part was fucking awesome. And then they go to dig him up. And when they went to dig him up, I was like, what the fuck are they doing? But yeah, when it's revealed he's back with his face paint, and you're like, oh shit, the Italian whore. She's actually good. Yes. She helped him.
Yeah, this was that
was a fun turn for me.
My significant other's first time seeing this, and the death of Franzak totally pulled the wool over her eyes. She was like, where's it go from here now that they're both dead? It's like, surprise, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Yeah, it got me. I was like, man, these French people are just brutal.
Yeah, I remembered that, but yeah, like watching it the first time, yeah, it was like, who are we left with? Alprochet, he weighs 105 pounds, soaking wet. Is he going to take out the beast?
No, I thought like, is Marianne gonna have to fucking take over?
I mean, everyone else in this movie is a martial arts expert. Why not her?
This scene, I remember watching, I was like, this really salvaged it for me. Like the second time through is like, I'm a sucker for like a revenge movie, or like scenes where it's like, all right, we're getting down to fucking business, where he just like goes all out, balls to the wall. But then it's like there's like 3 other parts after this that are kind of cool too. But so immediately after this, I like too this whole setting where they show our main bad guy, Jean Francois, like this crazy like labyrinthine macabre layer of all this weird like skeleton shit and like occult looking stuff. And you can tell now watching it, after watching it, it's like, yeah, this is probably like his lair where he machined and like engineered how he was going to set the beast up, and like dress it up like his master plan, his lair. I thought that was cool, like all the set design of all that stuff.
The one thing I was thinking during that scene is because they kept really focusing on this Latin writing that was on the wall.
Yeah.
I was like, I wonder if because they're French and they speak a Romance language, like they're more easily they can more easily decipher what that means, or if French people also have that sort of thing in like horror movies where it's like Latin is associated with like evil and the devil and shit. That was like, I just couldn't get over that for some reason.
Yeah, I remember that too. I was like, they're doing this for a reason. What it is, no clue. Let's see the beast.
I just assumed in the late 1700s that Catholics still kind of spoke Latin.
Well, certainly as a liturgical language, but my point is like, what are we at the audience supposed to think? Because for me, it's just like that could be Chinese. Like it means nothing to me.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You're throwing out all these big words at me, and I don't understand them. So I'm going to take it as a sign of disrespect. Watch your mouth.
It's all Greek to me.
No, what is that word that you just, liturgic? What does that mean?
It's like a language, like Steve was saying, in the church, the Catholic Church, they use Latin as the liturgical language. So they did services in Latin well past the point that Latin was a commonly spoken language. And even now, I think like Catholic priests and cardinals can use Latin as like a lingua franca when they don't speak each other's language. Like if there's a cardinal from Spain and a cardinal from Chinese, they don't know each other's language. So they'll be like, okay, well, let's speak Latin because we learned that in going through the priesthood and all that.
Yeah. How do you say little boy ass in Latin? That's a good phrase.
Dude, have you seen Spotlight yet?
No.
Yes.
You should watch it. It's good. It goes into all that, the Catholic shit that popped off, right? It's interesting. I totally forgot. Like, it almost got buried because of 9/11. And then it fucking slowly, it had to get, like, that shit was about to bust wide open, and then 9/11 happened. And it goes into that. Huh. It's really interesting.
Coincidence?
It's interesting how they picked it back up and they were able to, like, take the ball and get it going again. Super good movie. Michael Keaton, Mark Ruffalo.
It's part of the holy trinity of Mark Ruffalo investigative movies with Zodiac and Dark Waters.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
People looking at files, that's your dude. I had talked about that on a previous episode. That is one of my favorite things in films. Like when they get into the investigative part and they start like fucking wheeling and dealing and like looking up records and like double checking on shit and like stuff starts coming out. I love that. My other one is I'm a sucker for films that have either like that are set in like a radio or a DJ booth and or like that feature like a panopticon of some kind. So like think Adrian Barbeau in The Fog, or
the fuck is a panopticon?
Like Pontypool, where they're like restricted to the fucking radio DJ show and like the zombie apocalypse is going on outside and they're trying to stay safe. Panopticon,
so like a bottle episode.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah, I love that shit. A panopticon, it's like like a prison has like that main like crow's nest that can see 360, so you can get a full view of everything. It's just like a catch-all for something like that. Any kind of structure, like a lighthouse, could be considered a panopticon, but where you can see everything from an elevated point of view.
I can't think of a movie that centers around that type of thing.
Well, I can only think of one, which is the fog, which it also coincides with my, like, it's also like a radio DJ booth.
Okay.
Like something set there. There's also an anthology called After Midnight that has one of the vignettes, as it were, in that anthology takes place in like a DJ booth, and it's like a serial killer that's like calling this. It's like stalking this one radio DJ. Played by Marge Helgenberger, which is a lot of fun. Anyway, fun.
Yeah. Makes me think
fun
of
quirks.
Airheads.
Yes,
Airheads.
Dude, that's a good one too. Fuck yeah.
Jim is probably planning on editing this portion out, but I have a feeling he might forget. So if so, go ahead and leave us a 5-star rating on Apple iTunes. Or don't. Send us hate mail. I dare you. So you know the comedian Harlan Williams?
Yeah.
He's in Half Baked.
Oh yeah.
What's that Mars movie he was in?
Rocket Man.
Yeah, I used to watch that a lot when it was on Stars.
He had a Chihuahua in real life that was picked up and killed by an owl. Like in his backyard.
Jesus.
He let it out to go take a piss, and this owl just came down, picked it up, dead, gone.
Fuck. Yeah, dude, Kelsey's read shit like that in the Midwest of it happening, and we have a little Pekingese, Bradley, who's like 9 pounds, dripping wet. He looks like a little mogwai, and she's like, you gotta watch for eagles and owls and shit. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, it's real. Look at this. She like showed me an article. I was like, fuck.
I don't.
Right? Yeah.
Why do you guys think that the Midwest is like some third world? Like,
no, I don't.
You do realize they have California condors, right? It's right in the name. So it's like
we have birds
of prey
places
everywhere.
I don't know.
These fucking Midwest birds are just out here snatching dogs.
I think, yeah, I don't mean to give it a bad name because we actually really like it out here, but it's just there's so many things that are so different for someone who's been in the same region or place for so long. And we're not really like world travelers either. I think the farthest, I haven't gone east of like fucking Utah outside of going to like flying to Massachusetts one time in my life.
You live east of Utah.
Now I'm saying before we moved.
Okay.
I hadn't traveled like east of Utah or Nevada really until we fucking drove out here. So,
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty restricted to like the Pacific kind of Western view of things. So there's so much shit that's different out here too. Like they have Culvers everywhere. It's like people are like, what a Culver? What's Culvers, buddy? It's the best place you can get a hamburger. It's fucking, dude. It's so good.
Wow, that sounds like real culture shock.
Oddly enough, the Culvers that I would go to in Texas was way better than any Culvers in Minnesota.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, like I feel like every Culver's I went to in Minnesota was kind of dog shit, so I'm pretty over it at this point.
Yeah, I don't go very often. I've only gone a couple times, but they have this like frozen custard that will fucking knock your socks off.
Oh yeah, I will say I've never eaten the custard there, even though it's called like Culver's custard.
Oh man, you got to treat yourself. It was awesome. All right. But I mean, there is even like, I remember our first summer out here, we sat out in the backyard and I was just like, what is all of this shit? It sounded like there was 34 different species of bugs, wildlife just happening all over the place versus like where we were, it'd just be like, you hear a couple birds like tweet, tweet, tweet. And it's just like calm, nice. Like the bugs out here are different. Like,
had you seen lightning bugs in California?
No, and that's one thing that's super fucking cool. They don't happen all the time out here, but the few times that they have, they're just like dancing out in the backyard, in the front yard. You'll see like 4 or 5 or 6. It's rad. Super cool.
Pretty cool. Especially as a kid, you catch a bunch of them and then squish them onto you so that like your skin glows in the dark, which is really fucking gross, but it's something kids do.
Yeah.
So Jim, you're east of the Mississippi, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, because the Mississippi goes through Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Okay.
Which, by the way, that was fucking epic driving. I think it was between Iowa and Illinois, the route that we took, where we went over the mighty Mississippi. That motherfucker is huge, man. Like, it's insane. Like, the scale. I think, you've gone over the Sac River, the Sacramento River for Californians. It's like, that's a pretty big deal. It's a pretty major river. Dude, the Mississippi River, it's like a fucking ocean river. It's insane. It blew me away just driving across the bridge, but
yeah, I don't think I've ever really been to a wide point of it because in the Twin Cities, it's only like maybe a mile or two wide.
Oh, okay. Between Iowa and Illinois border,
it's still pretty wide.
It's like, yeah, much wider than widest point of Sacramento River I can think of. It's like a couple football fields, maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, the where we went over, it lands right on the border. Maybe that is where it kind of widens out or opens up a little bit. But yeah, like,
how many Mississippi rivers would it take to reach the moon? Do you remember how that used to be a method of measurement? Like when you were a kid, like for anything to conceptualize, they'd be like, it would take 8 billion gummy bears stacked on end to end to get to the moon.
Yeah. Or to circumnavigate the globe. That would be another one.
Yeah, that was the other big one.
11 million Nathan's hot dogs placed end to end. Oh, the other thing I was going to say too is I think getting back to old Brotherhood here, after Manny's killed and Front Sack's doing his whole autopsy thing, at first I was like a dark humor part of me was like, he's a taxidermist. Is he going to like Weekend at Bernie's this dude and like just be palling around the countryside? And I was like, oh, that's stupid. But that's where he finds the silver bullet. And it's like, oh, okay, Jean-Francois is the motherfucker here. And then he also like flashes, which they hinted at earlier, his fucking Pepe Sylvia like red lines triangulating. It's like, how did he triangulate the source of this beast? Like, they didn't touch on that at all. It's just like set dressing. So it's like, okay.
Yeah, like what lines is he connecting?
Yeah, like what's the
or I guess maybe if you imagine like, a huge circle of spots, if you connected them all, maybe where they all met in the middle to give you like the radius or diameter or whatever, like the center point of all of them, maybe.
Could be.
He is given some clues by Monica Bellucci while he's in prison. It's a very quick, like, exposition dump.
Yeah, I must have missed that part.
Yeah, it's one of those scenes that, like, it happens fast, and she's just like, this is happening, and this is happening, and the Pope, and all this shit.
Yeah, I probably just glossed over that like an idiot.
He was just looking at that dumper.
Dude. She is
Don't fucking get him started again.
She is a handsome woman, and she's aged gracefully, might I say, as well. She's like one of those like ageless wonders, dude. She was just in like I think it was Spectre from 2015, and she looks the exact same as like from like 1999.
Nate, sorry for sorry for bringing it up.
You did it.
Yeah,
your boner. Oh yeah, speaking of all the like the badassery that Frontzak's doing at the end when he scalps that motherfucker, I was like, yes.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say that because my movie has gotten to that part and I forgot about that, but I was like, yeah, fucking scalp that dude, scalp the rest of them.
Yeah, I was like, not only
and that was one of the couple dudes that I recognized who just kept coming back to get his fucking shit kicked in over and over.
Yeah.
Yes. One thing that I was unclear about is, okay, so this Jean-Francois, he's a one-armed man because he got mauled by something in Africa. But we later find out in the movie he has 2 arms. One of them just has scars on it, and he refuses to clip his fingernails.
Yeah, was the
Why
deal?
was he hiding his arm?
I can buy the arm, him being like, really vain, and maybe he was super, super self-conscious and ashamed about it. Or
But it's
maybe,
not like they're wearing wife beaters in 18th century France. Just put a fucking glove on. He was wearing gloves half the time anyway.
he could sell
Like there's a scene where he specifically takes a glove off. Just fucking wear a glove.
Yeah, because that kind of like attire, like no one would bat an eye at. Like, oh, why is he always wearing frilly, long laced shirts and gloves? It's like, oh, because he's part of the aristocracy or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I just put it like, yeah, he's vain. Maybe he was ashamed of it. It looks gross, and so he was that vain that he thought it would be such a hindrance. But or maybe he was culminate. This was his master plan the whole time.
Get mauled by a lion and start a cult in France.
Yeah. This is what I'm gonna do.
That ruined the movie for me. Literally unwatchable.
I didn't understand the nails though. It's like, what's the significance? It's like,
yeah, dude, cut your fucking nails.
Because it's like you're taking that thing out. You're not just wearing it all the time behind your fucking back. It's like there's no way. And it's like, wouldn't you be?
Well,
just
maybe
be
he's a righty, and it's tough to do with your left hand to cut your right hand nail. And yeah, I don't know.
I'm not buying it. Yeah, maybe it was just for the effect when he did bring it out. It's like, I want it to. It's nasty. I'm gonna put some extra stank on it with these fucking like blackened 3-inch blades. Oh, another kill that I really liked, the flaming bow and arrow to the forehead.
Oh yeah,
awesome.
Love a good fire arrow. That was
especially
awesome.
that one to set the tone, because it was like kerchunk, like right in his head, and the dude's like, ooh. I really like that. Yeah, dude, that war paint, whatever that was, he matched the attitude of that war paint. Like, I was like, fuck yes, this is awesome.
It's almost like he took Manion as his totem.
Yep.
These are the deep film analyses you guys come for.
What you've come to expect. Yeah, I guess we won't touch on like those French freaks all robed in red. Like it turned into like Eyes Wide Shut for a second there. I was lost at that point. I was like, what's this all about? Who cares? Frontek's fucking wrecking shop right now.
It's an intricate plot. There's a lot of ins, a lot of outs, a lot of what have yous. We won't belabor it by going over every detail.
I wish I had that bump. I had a couple Big Lebowski's planned, but I didn't. What about the Credence tapes? I think the last, like, my favorite part of this was the bone sword, although the CGI in a couple spots was pretty fucking rough, but that was a badass weapon. What'd you guys think of the bone sword? Was it too gimmicky or...
Hated it. I hated it, and I thought it was stupid.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of it. And then when he, spoilers, kills himself, I got like some Damien, it's all for you vibes. Where he's like, watch me, Marianne.
It's like, she's not here.
I thought his ending could have been... It felt a little anticlimactic, but I don't know. I still liked the bone sword. I thought it was a cool gimmick, just because it's not something you see every day. Yeah, that's what I put. Goddamn, there are so many goddamn front kicks in this movie, because this scene features another like 6 or 8 probably too. But yeah, from this point on, I think this is where I was like, okay, it's been resolved. I think the only thing left that they like really significant is like it shows Front Sack as this like naturalist in touch with like, nature and animals and things. He shares a kind of a weird moment with the tiger beast, and then it's like he has to kill him, or it, and that happens, and then there's like another 20 minutes of fluff with him and what's her name, Marianne,
which is another point of confusion for me, because trigger warning, like Jean-Francois, I guess, rapes her, but then she's like sick. I didn't really like, why is she sick?
Well, I think they tried to kill her, right? Because she was like, I'm going to go talk to whoever. And then when she's about to drink the milk, he comes in and is like, don't drink that. They're trying to kill you. is it cool if we fuck right now? And she says no. So then I think he's like, okay, well, now I'm going to kill you. So that's kind of what I thought happened. Like,
so maybe when
whatever.
they were like, having her recover from the assault, they were poisoning her
like
as
slowly.
part of her
whatever.
convalescence.
I think whatever he prevented by stopping the poisoning, when she rebuffed the brother fucking, I think he then poisoned her on his behalf. That's just what I thought, but
That's, there's nothing against it, so I'm going to accept that.
okay.
Yeah, I don't give a baker's fuck, so I'll accept it as well in the interest of moving on and finishing this thing. But it kind of like it bookends with Approche.
Yep.
Can't believe I remembered that. Him as an old man again, and then he's like, that part kind of confused me too. It's like you've gone all through this shit and you've seen like your people treated like trash, but then it's like they're coming out with like knives and pitchforks and like,
Well, it's the
French Revolution.
Right, but it's like,
so they're just going through and just fucking killing.
Okay, they don't care. They don't.
aristocracy.
Okay, so he's guilt by association. Okay, I was thinking, it was like, well, couldn't there have been some way that you averted this, like given all that you know and like the character that they paint you out to be, like you're not one of these people that's just there to fucking.
I think that's what made it so sad, because like he's a good dude.
Yeah,
because he of all people didn't fucking do anything. Like he's probably the most innocent character in the movie.
Right.
Yeah, but it's just the mob.
Right.
Like that's what happens when the fucking mob takes over.
They're organizing. Okay. So in that light, it's like it's just showing how like honorable, or how badass he is in his way, that he's like this. He's just accepted his fate and like he's facing the music like this. This is just a matter, the natural order of things.
With his last action is to expose even more crimes of the aristocracy.
Okay. Yeah, that's a much more cogent take on all this. I was like, just finish, just be done. Is there something else?
Were you hoping he would have his Manny moment and just fucking slaughter the mob of peasants?
No. Yeah, he just goes out there and beats 3,500 people's asses with his crossbow. No, I was hoping to get another look at Monica Bellucci before we left, but
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm kidding, kind of.
That's fucking interesting, man. That's
I
fucking
did
interesting.
have a Big Lebowski bump. I gotta add some more to that, but okay. So I think that's gonna put a pin in it for old Brotherhood of the Wolf. So I guess in sum, what did you think, Chris? After I don't know how long it's been since you've seen this, but does this one hold up for you?
Yeah, so like I said, I saw it in theaters. I've probably seen it between 5 and 10 times, but the last time I saw it was probably like 10 years ago. And I still really liked it. It's something that is right up my alley because it's a cryptid with a historical basis, and it's a period piece action movie, which you don't see a whole lot of. My significant other really liked this movie, and she was like, let's watch something else that's like that.
Oh, sweet.
And the only thing I could really think of was Apocalypto, which isn't a 1-to-1, but it's kind of similar.
Yeah, I can see that.
I know that's something both of you have mentioned liking.
Yeah,
that is a good one.
Apocalypto.
I like that movie a lot.
Apocalypto's a fucking experience for sure. The only thing I could think of was like with the just like the era of like gun used, it made me think of The Patriot with Mel Gibson, which I know he's fell out of favor over the years, but that's just a good movie. I like The Patriot a lot, but I feel like that could be something that you could jump off of from Brotherhood of the Wolf. Not quite as like, indie or like deep cut territory, but
well, I guess it depends on what exactly she liked about the movie. Was it
that's a good point.
Was it
I think it was just
gratuitous violence,
period
or was
piece
it
action?
Well, then The Patriot would be a good one for that.
I haven't seen that since it came out, and I think a movie starring Mel Gibson might be a hard sell. A movie directed by Mel Gibson, you can be like, you don't even have to tell him. Yeah,
when he's front and center. But yeah, That's another one of those art. Can you separate the art and the artist kind of thing? And I think this was kind of like at the tail end of his like prime.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not going to disavow Signs. Great movie,
dude.
Nice try.
Signs.
That's like one of my mom's favorite movies, so I think of it as like a mom core movie.
Dude, Signs is unimpeachable. I saw that with my mom at a drive-in. Fuck! I always fuck that up. Drive-in theater, White House.
Did she love it?
She loved it, and I loved it.
Momcore.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
I saw it when I was like a sophomore in high school, and we watched. It was a double feature. The other movies sucked, but Signs was, dude. That part when Joaquin Phoenix is like huddled in the fucking closet, and dude,
move, children, dominoes.
See, dude. I never really was on the Mel Gibson train, so it was pretty easy for me to drop him. Like, I've never seen any Lethal Weapon movie.
Dude.
Or I might have seen the fourth one. Is that the one where they fight the triad?
Yeah, Jet Li's in it. And Chris
I've
Rock.
literally only seen the fourth Lethal Weapon movie. The only Indiana Jones movie I've seen is Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Oh, God. You poor man. I was.
It's.
Go ahead. Sorry.
It's rare for me. It's rare for me to take a stance on Mount Pius. But Jesus Christ, Christopher. Oh my God, Indiana Jones.
No. I want to hear it from your lips.
You've got to watch the first couple.
Yeah.
Do I though?
Lethal Weapon 1.
You don't have to.
Lethal Weapon 1
you don't have to.
And 2. I will put in the pantheon. I mean, that's the cover of this podcast. Is like if nothing else, if you can hold on to just Danny Glover,
I love Danny Glover.
It's worth the
Predator
ride.
2.
Yes, Danny Gloves is fucking awesome, and he's awesome.
Also, like Gary Busey, he's in the first one, right?
He is in the first one, along with a bit role for Tom Atkins, but he is in it. Yeah, the first one's really, the first and the second one are awesome. The third one, get out of here. Joe Pesci's okay in it, but the fourth one's an abortion for sure. That sucks that was your first intro to Lethal Weapon. But
Chris, have you seen Ransom with Mel Gibson?
No, because that was like 10 years post racist rant.
What?
No,
Ransom was like
way before.
That was like 98.
Way before.
Maybe I'm thinking of The Gringo or something like that.
Yeah, and that was like 2010, I believe. Get the Gringo or Get him to the Gringo. No, yeah. What is it? Ransom is 96. That's still
Ransom's a good one.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Give me back my son. That's a good one. Gary Sinise,
dude.
Forrest Gump.
Gary Sinise is fucking awesome. I love him.
Little Rock's a fine town.
Dude.
Yeah. Oh God.
I don't.
You've short circuited him. He's looking for it.
I don't have it. I don't have it. But
oh, you've derailed him.
Yeah,
I got big gums, sir.
You get that tucked in. You get it caught on a tripwire.
I was just never on that Mel Gibson train, you know. So I mentioned I saw this in theaters, but the reason I did was because my dad was super into martial arts movies because he grew up in the Philippines. So like most of the media they had there was from China or Japan. So he grew up watching like Sonny Chiba and Bruce Lee movies.
Nice.
So in that time when I was a kid, we didn't really go to see like Mel Gibson movies. It was more like it had to be like a Van Damme, like someone that could handle their shit.
Hell yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think I came across Mel Gibson just being an all-American. Like, it's just, you know, he was at the top.
He's Australian.
Yeah, that's weird too. Like he's foisted upon, like, you know, like as this all-American dude. But I actually saw him first. My stepdad introduced me to Gallipoli, which he is in, which is I think it's an Australian film. And then I saw Mad Max and all that stuff first. So that kind of got the hooks dug into me at an early age. But I mean, I think he's great in the first two Lethal Weapons. They're definitely worth a watch. And if nothing else, I mean, if not greater than, you know, right there with him is Danny Gloves as Murtaugh. He's an all-timer for sure.
I'm very on board with Danny Glover.
Yeah, he's got one of my favorite scenes in film is in Lethal Weapon 2. Is probably my favorite, like taking out the bad guy and you hit him with a fucking dope one-liner. I think I have it here. Do I not?
It used to be part of the intro, right? There it is.
I remember where I was the first time I heard that and saw that part. that was a seminal moment in my film experience.
I mean, I got to say, in terms of action movie one-liners, one of my top has got to be, it's from Street Fighter, where Van Damme says he's going to kick the next Bison wannabe's ass so hard, or he's going to kick Bison's ass so hard that the next Bison wannabe is going to feel it.
He's going to feel it. Oh, yeah.
I saw
fucking classic.
I saw the gears turning on your face, Steve, when he said one of my favorite lines is from Street Fighter. That's awesome. I think my favorite.
Anyway, Steve, what did you think of Brotherhood of the Wolf?
When he's like, I am not going home.
But I'm not going home.
My favorite from that is with the Chung-Li back and forth about telling her the sob story about her village and all that. And he's like,
it was Tuesday.
It was Tuesday.
Yeah, that is some cold ass shit. Or, God, are we going to spend the next hour quoting Street Fighter? But the part where he's in a meeting with Sagat, and they were like set up, and E Honda and all of them bust in, and Raul Julia's just like, I guess you didn't see that, did you? And covers up his eye.
Oh man, was that also side question? Was that Wes Studi that played?
It certainly was,
dude. I remember I just watched it 6 months ago, and I was like, God, that's such a bad casting for Sagat. Like they should have got someone like imposing, like tall as shit. I was like, it just doesn't. Anyway, don't even get me started on fucking DJ. We know how that goes.
Hey, I wouldn't fuck with Wes Studi.
I like Wes Studi a lot. I think he's great. But for Sagat, just did not. I was like, we need someone at least above like 6'4" or 6'5". We need a really
like a
tall motherfucker. Yeah. Like they should have got like Telly Savalas if he was still alive.
He's not fucking tall.
Sagat? I remember
Telly Savalas.
Oh, I always picture him as being like 7 foot tall.
Oh.
You're going to bring it up.
No, my friend.
5'7".
Yeah, let's see.
What about
5'10"
for Sagat?
What? I'm taller than Telly Savalas? What the fuck? Dude, the way they frame him and everything I've seen, I don't know if it's like the bald head and like the attitude. I just pictured him as being like 6'5", 6'6". That's wild.
No, my friend.
Fucking Kojak.
Yeah, I don't even know who Telly Savalas is.
Some bald guy.
He was awesome in The Dirty Dozen. He's been in a lot of shit. He probably like. Have you ever heard Kojak thrown around? He was like a tough, like fucking like a detective, bald head, like iconic looking, kind of like a Shaft kind of character, maybe.
Like an Israeli Shaft.
Just had attitude.
Have you ever seen the movie The Breakup with Vince Vaughn? This is such a huge tangent.
Is this the one with Jennifer Aniston and like why would I want to do dishes? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jennifer Aniston's character, her boss tells her to go to like a place that does waxing, and she says, "Ask for the Telly Savalas." That's what I think of every time I hear his name.
Because he's so bald, it's like his head is like it's sharper than like a mirror. Like that's how bald it was.
Yeah. So Brotherhood of the Wolf.
In summation, Steve, do you have any final thoughts on Brotherhood of the Wolf? Would you recommend it? Anything else?
I would definitely recommend it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. And after they killed the Marquis de Blue when they went to the Front Sack and Mrs. Front Sack out on the boat, I thought that was a very cute ending. I enjoyed it.
They had their ride out into the sunset. How fun.
Yeah, have fun in Africa.
Yeah. What's he say? He's like, yeah, I'm sick of all the snow and something. It's like, dude, I would take that over dry heat and like just like, yeah, fuck that. I'm over that. No thanks.
I will also say, and I'm going to sound like an American chauvinist when I say this, or
Hell
like one
yeah.
of those stereotypical, like, fuck France. But I fucking hate French movies. I don't think I've ever seen another one that I like.
Really?
This is like, yeah, like I hate Raw, Frontiers, Martyrs.
Really? Wow.
Like,
So you're not a fan of New French Extremity?
No, it is literally my least favorite genre of film.
Have you ever Sorry, go ahead, Steve.
I'll take it one step further. Brother. I hate France.
Well, that is exactly what I was saying I did not want to come off as.
Steve's like, hold my beer.
I don't know if either one of you have ever been there.
Never.
I
have.
Okay, I could see that. I spent like one day in Paris, and it was the biggest fucking shithole I've ever been to.
Really? Like more than San Francisco?
Yeah, it sucked. Ooh, that's tough.
Putting you on the spot. Did you get seawater and urine notes prominently in your frontal area?
No. So San Francisco is like seawater and shit.
Mm-hmm.
France was like cigarette smoke and shit.
Okay.
And dudes wearing scarves, riding Vespas, and yeah, hated it. Would not recommend.
Is it true, like, when you tried to, like, get a coffee, or did you try to order something and they were just really, like, rude and flippant? Like, the stereotypical,
yes,
like, I'm an American, treat me like shit experience?
Yeah, for sure. So, real quick story. We were over in England, and we took the Channel over. So, the train station in France, you know, they have a lot of international travelers, so it's not unusual to have English-speaking and not good French-speaking people, but we were trying, right? So we didn't just go there like, where do I go, and expecting them to speak English.
Cater to me.
So yeah, we cobbled together some general French to try to assimilate.
Rendezvous.
So we asked this person like, hey, you know, where do we go to get a bus pass? And this fucking bitch like rolled her eyes at us and pointed at a line that was full of people. So we're like, okay, thank you. So we go over, stand in line. We get to the very beginning and we're like, hey, we want a bus pass. And she's like, oh no, you got to go over to that line over there. I'm like, oh, fuck. All right. So we go to the other line. We get to the very front, ask her again very nicely, like, hey, we want a bus pass. She's like, oh no, you're wrong. You need to be back in that first line you went to. And I like look over and the first lady's like, like just gives us this look like, like, yep, fuck you. Did that on purpose. Eat shit.
That's
like,
yeah. I mean, that's one of those things about Europe in general is that like every place I've lived, we do not have public transit at all. So figuring that out to them seems very obvious because they all have it. You don't fucking have public transit in Minneapolis or Dallas or Albuquerque. I don't know about where you guys are from, but like it's just that in itself is a massive task to try and figure out how it works because it's different in every country over there.
Right.
And you just feel like a fucking idiot because everyone there does it every day.
Right. And I mean, it is like, you know, the stereotypical, well, you know, the US is like a bunch of different countries. I mean, it really is on some levels, like state to state. There's a bunch of regional differences that are weird, like, you know, that are weird to me moving to Indiana. But I mean, even like city to city depends on like how robust the fucking transportation system is going to be. I remember being in like San Jose and their public transportation system was fucking dope. Like they just had shit on rails, like going like every 5 seconds you could hop on, hop off, like very easy, user friendly. And then there's some other cities that they just aren't built for that. Whereas, you know, in a place that's more developed and like that's like a more normal way of life, I could see that being like way more like, yeah, it's this, you idiot. How can you not understand? But
fucking American pig dogs.
Yeah. fucking French pieces of shit. Yeah.
God damn. You're gonna fire up the beignets over there.
Oh no.
In South Central France.
God forbid. I did spend a lot of time in Wales. Great people. Fucking loved Wales.
I don't know. Christian Bale yelled at that director of photography pretty hard.
Didn't he like push his mom or his like sister or like significant other down the fucking stairs too?
That sounds vaguely familiar.
Well, he seems like a wild man. Yeah, Christian Bale. I think like right before like a major award ceremony or something, he fucking like booted either his mom or his girlfriend at the time or his like sister or something. One of those three, someone close to him.
Is he Welsh?
He is.
Sure. Yeah. Did you know?
Well, she must have deserved it because they were friendly people. They're friendly people.
He's the Terrell Owens of pushing his mom down the stairs.
Yeah. He's the Ray Rice of pushing people downstairs that are close to him. Yeah, I've heard some fucked up shit about him, so I'm kind of two minds about him. But he seems real sweet in at other times and like down to earth, so.
I mean, full circle with Mel Gibson. You can be good at some things and be just a complete piece of shit.
God.
Yeah.
You make me want to smoke.
Yeah, if anybody wants a laugh, just look up the Mel Gibson angry voicemails. I think there's, like you guys were talking about earlier, with a movie you didn't know existed, and there's 7 volumes. There are like 25 volumes of his angry voicemails, and they are fucking hilarious.
Yeah, some of them are like, dude, it's like, what are you doing right now?
Well, some of them are so funny because she knows she's recording it, but he doesn't. So, like, if you're recording a voicemail with someone you're trying to get all worked up, you're like, why are you talking? Like, why are you getting so worked up right now? And he's super pissed off, like, what the fuck are you talking about? She's like, what? Why are you so mad? Because she just knows she's the one recording. And
yeah, early, like a week ago, I went down a rabbit hole of revisiting the whole Charlie Sheen thing from like 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah, the whole Tiger's Blood and all that.
By winning.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There was one in particular that I really liked was like, I don't know what he was saying, but it was like, I think it was like when he went off on it's a drug. Are you on drugs? Yeah, it's called Charlie Sheen. And he said something like, no one else can take it, or no one else can like understand the level that I'm on, or else it would like melt your faces as your children are crying, like weeping, looking above at you. Like he said something really wild, like on that front. And I was like, dude, this guy is off his fucking rocker. Or when he said like, like, what he said, like, I'm a bitchin' something from Mars.
He said a lot of things.
Rockstar.
Yeah, he's like,
I think he says like, I'm a bitchin' rock star from Mars.
Yeah, I'm sick of acting like I'm not a bitchin' rock star from Mars. Like he thought he was the second coming of like David Bowie or something, and the like Ziggy Stardust.
I'd rather have Charlie Sheen than David Bowie.
Don't do it. We're not gonna go there. We'll hear no David Bowie slander on this channel.
David Bowie sucks. Major League's awesome.
Sorry, Rick. House rules. Okay, so I have a little bit. I got a colloquial corner set up, and then we do have a little bit of housekeeping I want to get into real quick. We actually got a generator.
Oh, I do have a cunty review. I know we've only done it a couple times, but my favorite cunty review.
Is this from YouTube?
I saw. No, it's from, I don't know, Rotten Tomatoes, I think.
Oh, I thought you were talking about for our show. I was like, fuck.
No. I
was so excited. Damn it.
I wish. If you're listening, feel free to send in a cunty review. I saw a review of this movie on Rotten Tomatoes. It says, instead of fluid acrobatics, we get hyperbolic montages of kicking feet, somersaulting torsos, and fists connecting with faces. From March 22, David Edelstein from Slate. So that should tell you about everything you need to know.
This actually leads perfectly into a game I wanted to play with you guys that I I'm workshopping.
I'm excited.
Yes.
So the concept of this game is, I don't know if you guys have ever read IMDB reviews.
Oh yeah.
But they're pretty terrible.
Yep.
The concept of this is that I have 2 1-star reviews from IMDb.
Yes.
One of them is from Brotherhood of the Wolf. One of them is from another movie. And I want you guys to guess which one is for Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Ooh, okay.
Make sense?
Okay.
Yes.
Without knowing what the other movie is?
Right. Here are the IMDb reviews. Number 1. At no point was I scared or frightened during this film. I left the theater angry and disappointed that I spent my hard-earned money seeing this movie. The music was obnoxious and overly dramatic. The acting was awful and almost painful to watch. I read reviews before seeing it, expecting it to be the best movie ever. ... Wrong. I would not recommend this movie to anyone. I could see this being scary to a 10-year-old... ... But there's too much sex for it to be appropriate for a younger crowd. I am utterly confused why there was so much nudity. And it wasn't even good nudity. I usually never take the time to review things, but it was so bad that I had to warn people from suffering through the poor excuse of a movie I just saw.
Oh, fuck.
Well, it definitely
so that's number 1.
That definitely can't be Brotherhood of the Wolf because it said the nudity wasn't even that good, and we got Monica.
Okay, relax.
We got Monica Bellucci.
Relax.
Slanging
Take a breath.
Ass.
Take a breath. Okay, so that was a really a good one first because I was vacillating back and forth.
Yeah.
So let's hear the second one.
It's also a classic IMDb review because everyone on IMDb likes to point out, I never write reviews, but this was so bad, I just had to.
Yeah.
So here's the second review. I don't have much to say about this movie because of the fact that it was pure garbage. I've never felt the urge to bash a film more than this one. The plot is terrible. I laughed a total of 2 times in this movie. 1 at the acting, and then after the credits were over. I was laughing at myself for actually paying money to see this quote-unquote film. I don't even think that this quote-unquote movie deserves to be called a quote-unquote film. Why didn't this go right to video? 0 stars of 4.
Man.
So now you have to guess which one was for Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Well, I'll say this: you're a good taskmaster because those are both so nebulous. Like you could just throw a dart and be right. I'm gonna go with the second one is for Brotherhood of the Wolf.
I'm gonna say the first one.
So Jim was actually correct. The second one was Brotherhood of the Wolf. Do you have any guesses as to what the first one was for?
Fuck. That could be 1,000 things. Can you give us a small hint at maybe like either genre or year?
Can you maybe just reread it one more time?
At no point was I scared or frightened during this film. I left the theater angry and disappointed that I spent my hard-earned money seeing this movie. It was obnoxious and overly dramatic. The acting was awful and almost painful to watch. I read reviews before seeing it, expecting to see the best movie ever. Wrong. I would not recommend this movie to anyone. I could see this being scary for a 10-year-old, but there's too much sex for it to be appropriate for a younger crowd. I'm utterly confused why there was so much nudity, and it wasn't even good nudity. I usually never take the time to review things, but it was so bad that I had to warn people from suffering through the poor excuse of a movie I just saw.
See, like the sex and nudity, I think is what I thought because there was a lot of sex and nudity.
The other thing that's hooking me is like it wasn't even scary. So I'm trying to think, okay, was she expecting a horror film? And I'm thinking,
well, that's why I also thought because
okay.
it wasn't really scary.
I think the first one, I'm going to say the first one. They're reviewing Wild Things. That's my guess. Final answer.
Okay.
Steve? All right, Chris, I've got to ask you because you know that I don't know that much.
Or yeah, if you can throw us a bone at like year or like genre or a small hint.
Is this a movie that I would know? Like, is it mainstream or is
Oh,
it...
you would know it, Steve.
Okay, all right. Then,
It's from 2014. I had to look that up.
oh, It Follows.
Yes.
No way!
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Fuck! I should have known.
Damn.
Wait, did I write that review?
Yeah, you guys.
I'm sorry.
You guys suck.
I'm sorry, Jim. I just wanted to hurt you.
You know,
Dude, I should have known.
you know, in my heart of hearts, yeah, I should have known you were like angling at something like that, but
Although they were all teenagers, so I don't remember a bunch of nudity.
there was about 0 seconds of nudity in that film. Besides, the part that freaked me out the most is the chick that had like missing teeth and was pissing down her leg. That was one of the
Definitely,
its, and she had like
felt
a
like
titty
a thou
coming out.
doth protest too much type of review.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I can remember seeing like half boob in that movie. And the sex scene was like PG-13 in the back of a car. You didn't even see tits. So
Yeah, okay, relax.
I hate that.
We've all seen your notes.
Wrong. Fuck off.
I love it.
Derek, wrong.
I think that made me laugh the hardest. Oh shit.
Oh boy. Well, fuck yeah, that was a fun game, Chris. You're like just introducing like that's one thing I keep thinking about is like segments, like something like fun to like shake things up. That was great.
That's my new segment. New random game each time.
Fuck. I love I spent my hard-earned money. That. Oh man.
One of them for It Follows is like, I saw this on TV. I called my buddy over. We ordered it on pay-per-view, and it was fucking dog shit.
They just don't get it. Philistines.
Kindred spirits.
All right. Well, so
fuck. Man, that was funny.
That was good. That was perfect. So we have a new review actually, our rating on Apple Podcasts, which I thought was neat. It's very short and sweet, and I don't want to get too political, but depending on your humor level, their username is Crimea River, but the Crimea is like Crimea in Eastern Europe. Crimea River. I've seen that in a meme before. Just guys being dudes.
Hell yeah.
Now this is pod racing.
Now this is pod racing.
Thank you.
What?
Crimea River. That's the review. Just guys being dudes. Now this is pod racing. I didn't realize, but I guess this is a thing in Star Wars memery.
Oh yeah.
With the very first one, or the first prequel, The Phantom Menace.
Damn, I was about to go full actually on you.
Tilt the glasses up.
Hit him.
Yeah.
Give him a little sniff too, like
I'm a fan of Phantom Menace. I think for nostalgic reasons, and I just liked it. If you just fucking can get over yourself for about 0 seconds, I thought it was great. I liked it. I'm a big Ewan McGregor fan, so it's got to really shit the bed for me to not like it with Ewan McGregor. But like the scene that killed it for me was the whole Qui-Gon going out and the fight scene with Darth Maul, and then fucking Obi-Wan, Ewan McGregor just fucking shit up. That was awesome. Dude, I remember when that came out, that was like a cultural cornerstone. Like we had, like before the internet, we had called ahead, or I don't know how my mom got them, but she fucking got tickets to the movie like in advance. And at that time, I'm sure people right now listening to this were like, "What were you born under a fucking rock in the Stone Age?" But in 1999, when this came out, when you went to the movies, you went to the fucking movies. You didn't have a fucking smartphone. You didn't go on a fucking app. You still had to call like the theater on the telephone and wait for a loop, like 45 seconds of the loop, and have to listen like,
movie
okay,
phone.
Yeah. When is, even before movie phone, like calling the fucking theater directly, and they had to answer.
Or you had to look in the newspaper for the show times.
Dude, I remember that, getting like, hey, let me get the entertainment section. Like, what's at the show?
Yeah.
Dude, I used to love that. You guys going to the show tonight? That's what, like, growing up in a small town, like, when you were going to go to the theater in, like, the early, late 90s, it was like, oh, you guys are going to the show? So I like that. That's lost on people. But anyway, like, I don't know how my mom did it. Like, I think this was like one of the first things that came out, like, it was where people were like so amped up they had to get tickets in advance. So I remember like my mom getting the tickets for Star Wars in advance, and we had them, and it was like, okay, in 2 weeks we're gonna go see the new Star Wars. So I have a lot of like nostalgia attached to that. So anyway, thanks, Crimea River. This is pod racing.
Yep, and we are rooting for Putin on this show.
God damn.
Just kidding. We don't care about anything.
No, exactly.
I mean, Ukraine was asking for it, but yeah.
Oh boy. Editing.
Just kidding.
Commence.
Don't. Nope.
Strong disagree.
He's not gonna edit. Don't care.
So I do have a fun colloquial corner. Hopefully I won't bomb as bad as I did last week, but or 3 days.
Is it
ago.
Let's fucking go? Because I hear you really like that. In fact, you quoted it in tonight's episode.
Don't do that. You know why?
Pretty embarrassing.
It is. I do have the power of editing, but I'm gonna let it ride because I'm a man of, you know what I mean.
Sports.
I'm a man of negotiable, not giving a fuck.
Hillbilly. What?
Okay, so I do have a colloquial corner this week, and hopefully it won't bomb.
Sure.
The colloquial corner. And I'm hoping Chris will save the day with another fucking home run like the half a Dr. Pepper. That was fucking awesome. But one I did, this is a quick hitter that I heard. I can't remember why. I was looking up idioms and phrases for something that's extremely dry, and I got drier. I got drier than a mummy's dick. Drier than a mummy's dick, which I really like. But this one sent me over the edge, was drier than a camel's asshole in a sandstorm. And I was like, dude, you get me. That's awesome. I can't wait to put that into practice. So, yeah, that's this week's colloquial corner. Steve or Chris, do you have any colloquialisms that are fun or that you hate?
I hate a lot of things. In the interest of time, I won't list all of them.
All right.
I did have a few, I won't say bones. Some of them are bones to pick, but some of them are just, we're going to bond over some things.
Bring it on.
If that's cool.
Yeah.
So I think the last 2 episodes, you've talked about Alf.
Alf.
Oh, God. Oh, Christ.
And one of the things is, I think you were talking about Project Alf.
Yes.
Last time.
From 96 with Miguel Ferrer.
Literally one of my favorite jokes ever in a movie. I won't spoil it, but it has to do with a shower curtain. Jim, I think you know what I'm talking about. He tells a little Rodney Dangerfield-esque one-liner. The movie's actually really fucking funny, and all of the Dr. Warner stuff at the beginning is super fucking funny.
Dude, me and my wife are in stitches. The interview scene, and then when they put him in the
Yes.
centrifuge the multiple times, dude. Yes, that is very
It's
much my
wife and
shit.
I. Thank you, my wife and I. Please.
Dude, Project Alf is slept on like a motherfucker, and
This-
it is for free on
Hey.
YouTube.
Martin Sheen.
Dude, that's one thing I totally forgot that like he is in that. I was like, that's insane. But Miguel Ferrer's in it, and he's awesome. But also, Steve, you'll know this guy, Bull Durham. I think he's the second baseman, the guy who marries Millie.
Okay. Yeah.
He's like the church guy. He's kind of square,
Yeah.
like generic American looking dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Get some candlesticks and.
Nice table setting. So maybe see where she's registered.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're dealing with a lot of shit here. He also plays Tim the Toolman Taylor. He plays his brother in a select few episodes. In
Mine's better.
Dude, my son just turned 1 and he's like starting to like open up to things, and we started watching Tool Time because we're like digging into like holiday, like let's watch all the good holiday episodes of like sitcoms and shit. So we've been getting into Home Improvement, and I say that now in front of my kid every time. It's like a home run if I do the fucking he fucking cracks up, dude. So it's just like feeding this like incessant.
Is your kid okay? Do you need to have him tested? Or?
He's fine. He's built like a brick shit house, but fucker wears like 3T and he just turned 1. He's a bowling ball. But fuck, where was I going with this? Oh, yeah, he
Project Alf.
Project Alf. He played Tim's brother. He is in Project Alf, the second baseman from Bull Durham. Him and this other
He
guy.
does a pretty damn good Alf impression in that movie too.
Yes, he does when they're at the
Where
check.
he's like, "Huh, you're telling me?"
Yeah, when he's at the checkpoint and they're trying to like get out of the army base or whatever. Yes, he does. Yeah, that's
Also Jensen Daggett. Not to get too Monica Bellucci on it, but she's a good-looking lady, and she is my favorite final girl from Friday the 13th.
Oh shit! That's which one is that?
Jason Takes Manhattan.
Dude, that's one of the finest. I know I catch a lot of shit for this, but I like Jason Takes Manhattan for a lot of reasons.
It's my favorite.
One of the reasons is like the beginning on that boat when that fucking bitch like she goes down into the like that hold and she's like hiding from him. I'm like, that's exactly what I would do. I would try to find the tiniest little crawl space like area to like hide, and sure as shit she gets fucking got. But also because that dude shoots the fade with him on the fucking rooftop and loses his head, punches his head off and with the uppercut, like yeah.
My favorite line from Julius is when they're asking like, "Hey Julius, what weapon are you going to take?" And he says, "Nothing, except for this gun."
Oh man.
Yeah, Julius goes hard. And then the other thing, Alf related, you've mentioned the Alf Christmas special, but I don't think you've really gone into what that is, because this, and I'm glad you've seen it, because I try to talk to people about this and they're just like, well, yeah, Alf Christmas special. But so the premise of this Alf Christmas special is not only does Alf talk a hospital maintenance man off the ledge from fucking killing himself because his wife died a year ago, but also it's about a little girl dying from leukemia, but also that little girl is based on a true story whose dying wish it was to talk to Alf, who then later died from leukemia.
I did not know that part of the story. That's fucking
It is
insane.
the most depressing Christmas special I've ever seen.
Yeah, that just made it
Oh my god!
super dark. I didn't know that.
All right,
Alf.
now I'm interested.
It's a good one. Alf is he's underrated.
I've heard some controversy about the dad, the guy who played the dad in Alf of late.
Mel Gibson.
I mean, it was kind of, I think I vaguely remember that, and it was kind of just like he's gay and into dudes in their 20s, and he's like 80, but I think he's dead now.
Okay.
So it's not like I mean,
Well,
yeah,
aren't we all?
It's gross, but it seems to me everything I've heard was consensual relationships.
Okay. I didn't get that far into it, although my wife, like, she watches shit on YouTube, and I was like, no, that guy seemed like he was all right fella, and I didn't want him to drag down the good
also,
Alf
he
name.
was the original owner of Central Perk and Friends. He was in like 2 episodes, or maybe even just 1.
Holy shit, before it was like a coffee shop, when it was like a bar?
I think it was still a coffee shop in the pilot or whatever, but he
Yeah.
was the owner of it.
Because I thought the first 2 seasons, I thought it was a fucking bar. And then it became...
Well, I think there's a... take it easy. I think there's a flashback when it was a bar, but I think even at the beginning it was a coffee shop. But yeah, I'm picturing the guy who's a like curmudgeon-y old bald owner.
I always get him mixed up with the dude that was on SVU for a long time. His name's Dan Florek, and I really don't trust the guy because he spells his name Dan with 2 N's. So right there, I'm like, I don't know, man. But he looks very similar. Like he looks like Franklin's dad. Like he could be a turtle. We always call him Turtle Man.
Third point of order, Steve. The fact that you didn't just have a vitriolic hatred towards possession, now you're just a wild card to me. I thought for sure you were going to hate that movie.
Yeah, I don't know.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
It's hard. He's a tough read, man. I didn't, after watching this a second time, and maybe it was just me, there was parts where I was slogging through it. I was like, he's going to hate this fucking movie. I know it for sure. So when you were like, yeah, I liked it. And then last week, I was for certain that McCabe and Miss Miller would be just right up your alley. Or at minimum, like a lukewarm, yeah, it was good. But it was like, no, I fucking hated this movie. So yeah, you are a tough read. I will say that.
And that brings me to my fourth and final point, which is, I don't know what you're talking about with Unforgiven, Jim.
You stand?
Yeah. In fact, another podcast that I was on asked all the guests to do a sight and sound list, which I don't know if either of you are familiar with that. I know Steve isn't, but Jim, do you know sight and sound list?
I don't.
So every 10 years, like a group of film industry people, mostly directors, vote on what they think are the best 10 films of all time. And a podcast that I was that I was a guest on asked everyone who had been a guest to do that. And I put Unforgiven on my sight and sound list.
Wow.
That, like, I fucking love it. If you want to talk about, that's like an actual anti-Western, but entertaining. I haven't seen McCabe and Mrs. Miller, but I know it didn't win Best Picture in 1992. I also know it didn't win Best Supporting Actor in 1992.
Is that Morgan Freeman that won that?
Hackman.
Who's Pac-Man?
Hackman. Gene Hackman.
Oh, Gene Hackman. Gotcha.
Chris, please watch that movie and come back and vindicate me because it was fucking dog shit. Please.
You're wrong.
I could see myself going either way.
It's an excellent film. It's currently on the, I don't know if you have the Criterion channel. It's on the Criterion channel or it's on the darker corners of the web. But
you can also find it on like really shitty overratedmovies.com.
Go die. It's good. It's awesome. I liked it. It's honestly kind of blowing my mind that you're so on board with Brotherhood of the Wolf and you didn't like Miss McCabe and Miss Miller. Like I can't rationalize that in my mind right now.
Well, take a moment. What about now?
What about Valedictorian?
Wait, so this guy, not only is he known for MASH, but also the live action Popeye movie with Robin Williams.
Oh boy. Yeah. He's got a weird filmography, I will say that.
And that they're not good? Is that the weird part?
Dr. T and the Women with Richard Gere. That was one that was like, what? That was one that was real weird to me. he did make one other film. What did he make that I was like, okay, I can see that. IMDb, Robert Altman. I think what endeared me to him was I watched some behind the scenes, or I watched it. He was on like Captain Kangaroo, and he was on a couple of like talk shows and stuff during that time. And
that's a real feather in the cap.
Yeah,
Captain Kangaroo.
Dude,
Martin Scorsese, frequent guest on Captain Kangaroo.
The only frame of reference, honestly, if I'm being real, that I have of Captain Kangaroo is Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump. That's all I know of him through a movie that was like trying to be historically like doing weird shit with. But he did, I think his last thing that's like the most modern thing that he did was Gosford Park, which I enjoyed that film too. But he also did The Player, which in '92 with Tim Robbins, which I know is pretty highly acclaimed. But yeah, his filmography is kind of all over the place. But hearing him talk like on talk shows and stuff, and like he just seems like an interesting fella.
Yeah, I'm very confused because I feel like he's kind of talked about as being one of the greats, and I also would have said that, but looking at his filmography, it's like I've heard of Popeye and Dr. T and the Women.
I think he made his name in like the 60s and 70s, and he got, like that's where he really got hyped up, and he got grouped in with like Peter Bogdanovich and maybe to a lesser degree like Martin Scorsese and people like that. I think he rode their coattails a little bit. Maybe that's a really neophyte kind of observation, but that's the best that I can think. And The Long Goodbye is really good too with Elliot Gould, the dad, Monica's dad from Friends, Steve.
Yeah.
Dude, when he was a young buck, he was in a lot of shit. He was actually Altman wanted to get him for McCabe and Miss Miller, but he was like, "Nah, I don't want to do it." But
because it's a shitty movie, is that why?
Are you the guy that made MASH?
Hey, that's
Chris. Please, for the love of God, watch the movie and come back and vindicate me.
I'll watch it.
Avenge me.
I mean, yeah, like I said, I could go 50-50 on it. I do really like Westerns in general, but I also do hate heavy-handed message movies. So I could.
Oh, Christ!
But the other two people on the cast
roller coaster then
didn't agree with you on that, so I'm interested to see.
Oh, it's okay. They're done, so that's okay.
Yeah, I really thought you were really grasping to call that a message movie. I honestly I didn't see it. I think I don't know. I could say just take it at face value, but my face value is different from someone else's. But I feel like just watching it and like experiencing it, I didn't take that away from it. So that's just my opinion.
Well, if any of the listeners disagree, send us some hate mail.
Please. That would be awesome. Or love mail or regular mail. Anything our way. We haven't had any mail in quite a while, but if you do want to reach out to us, please do at waxingtheporpoise.com, or you can also reach out to us via Twitter, Waxing the Porp, or Instagram is Waxing the Porpoise. Let us know what you thought of Brotherhood of the Wolf or anything else that we've reviewed thus far, or anything in general, and especially hate mail would be great, because that would be fun to see Steve just dismantle you.
Yep, bring it.
Or support you.
Yeah, we're all about that too.
Yeah. Yeah, Jim would just throw away all the hate mail against him. So
no, come on, hey. I'm all about transparency. Please.
Hate mail's funny. Bring it on.
Yeah, let us know what you like, what you don't like.
Moonlight Graham.
That's such a shitty bump. I tried to find a better one. That's one of my favorite parts of a movie. Moonlight Graham.
Baseball.
Baseball, Ray.
It's always been baseball.
Do you want to have a catch?
Dad?
Dude, Kevin Costner, I think we brought it up on the last or the episode before maybe. No Way Out. If no one's seen No Way Out, from 1987. Fucking awesome. Like, it's like a political, like, tense action drama intrigue. Will Patton's awesome in it. If you're a Will Patton fan, it's a must see. He plays a fucking heel, a villain that's awesome in it. Gene Hackman's in it.
All the Will Patton heads out there.
Dude, Will Patton's awesome. I don't think he gets enough love.
We're probably trying to get out of here, but what are you guys' general feelings on Kevin Costner? Because I went on a Kevin Costner tear about a week ago or a year ago.
Awesome. What'd you watch? What was your tear?
Fucking all of the... I mean, Waterworld's a classic. Love that movie.
Okay.
Robin Hood.
Yes. Fuck yeah.
Field of Dreams, I've seen it so many times because when you're from Iowa...
Yes.
Like, things are Iowa by proxy. So even though he's not from Iowa, everyone likes him because he was in a movie that takes place in Iowa.
Sure.
Fucking Ray Kinsella.
Wyatt Earp.
Yes.
Fucking The Postman. Mr. Brooks. Surprisingly,
I had a lot of fun with that one.
Best acting performance I've seen from Kevin Costner.
Wow, that's bold.
It's the only one where he shows emotions. Dances with Wolves.
Dances with Wolves is fuck. That one kind of caught me off guard. I like that a lot.
The New Daughter.
I haven't seen that.
But generally, how do you guys feel about Kevin Costner? You be Costner heads?
I wouldn't say I'm a head, but I like him a lot. Stemming from Bull Durham. After Bull Durham, I feel like he can do no wrong. That's me. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, I love him in the only movies I can think of him in is sports movies. So like Bull Durham, Field of Dreams,
Baseball,
Tin Cup. You neglected to mention, young man.
Tin Cup.
I didn't see it. Haven't watched it.
Tin Cup is a lot of fun.
For Love of the Game. Excuse me.
I haven't seen. Yeah, I haven't seen that. I have not seen.
Yeah.
For me, the jury is still out. I don't see why he was ever popular, but there is something eminently watchable about his movies.
Okay, I'll hit you with some older gems before that. So No Way Out is a must-watch. That's 1987. Sean Young is also in it. Gene Hackman, Will Patton. Revenge, Anthony Quinn, and Kevin Costner. That one's awesome. You'd probably actually like Fandango with Kevin Costner because that takes place in Texas, or maybe you won't because you hate Texas, but
could go either way.
Okay, so Fandango is great. He's in that. I liked his bit part in Silverado. Kevin Kline and Danny Gloves is in that as well. What else is he in that I liked? There's one other
Swing Vote.
I didn't watch that. I didn't watch Draft Day. I didn't watch Swing Vote.
It's like some movie where everyone voted in America except him. So he gets to decide who's president.
Yeah, that was one immediate never watching. I put that up there with like the Mooseport movie with Ray Romano.
Hey, shut your fucking mouth.
I will never watch that movie.
You do not say, hey. Don't say an unkind word about Ray Romano in my presence. But also, that is the movie Gene Hackman chose to retire from acting from. So you better believe it's up there with Citizen Kane. And
he should have called it quits after like Absolute Power with Clint Eastwood.
I disagree.
What about The Chamber? Chris O'Donnell.
That's a good one. That is a good one.
Never saw it.
Well,
and
fuck you.
On the subject of sports movies, for the past 3 weeks, I've had echolalia and have been annoying my wife with, we got a claw with a fingernails.
Oh, Jesus. You don't know what you just did.
Sit down, Ralph.
She's got a great ass.
Great ass.
Hey.
Dude.
Heat also on my Sight and Sound.
Dude, Heat's awesome. Have you ever seen Heat, Steve?
I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure.
It was like somewhat recent in the last few years.
Did you like it a lot?
Because that was one of my favorite movies to tell you that I hadn't seen.
Well, I'm just glad that you've seen it. So we're good now. I like a lot that director. Actually, he's directed a lot of stuff I like actually, including that was directed by Michael Mann. You'd probably like Collateral with Tom Cruise a lot and Jamie Foxx. If you liked Heat, check out Collateral from 2004, I believe, with Tom.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it.
You've seen Collateral? Dude, I love that part when he's like, hey, homeboy. And he fucking just does that boom, boom, shoots. Dude, I think Collateral is kind of slept on. And I don't want to like hype something up with Tom Cruise because he's a fucking filthy Scientologist and he's into some weird shit.
Who cares? You guys with the fucking Tom Cruise, Mel Gibson, who cares?
Dude,
if it's a good movie, it's a good movie.
Honestly, I've always kind of hated Tom Cruise, but like just 2 days ago
I'm sorry, Top Gun, Maverick.
I just saw that a year ago. Top Gun for the first time.
Whoa.
But what I was going to say is like,
have you seen the new one?
No, I just don't care. The
I
thing
dare
that kind of
to go watch it and tell me you don't like it. I fucking dare you.
I probably would because I do really like practical stunts, which is why I like Fast and Furious movies. So I could see myself liking that.
I
in a
dare
similar
you
vein.
to look at my cat right now in the face and tell me.
Adorable.
It's all
but
about
just
family.
2 days ago, I caught on to something that I guess everyone else was privy to while I was looking up Christian Bale yelling at a DP.
Yeah.
Where Tom Cruise was yelling at people for not wearing masks during the pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, I agree with him. I like this guy now.
That's what won you over, not the you can see past all the Scientology weirdness with Katie Holmes and all that?
I don't know much about Scientology. To me, it's the same as every other religion. We don't need to really get into that.
Yeah, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I just will say it's not, and I'll leave it at that.
I was raised Catholic, so is it much worse than that?
Dude, it's pretty intense.
No, they're all insane. But I don't think the Tom Cruise rant was about like him actually giving a shit about the mask or COVID protocol.
Exactly. That's what
he was mad. Like, you guys are going to
from.
shut this fucking movie down that we're trying to make. So stop.
Yeah, I've heard a really funny. Matt Damon was on a like a Jimmy Kimmel or fucking whoever.
Damon.
Yeah, and he was like, he said he was talking to Tom Cruise, and he's like, "Fuck, how'd you do that shot for Mission Impossible 4, where he's like dangling out the fucking window of a plane and shit?" He's like, "How'd you do that?" And he's like, "Well, so this is Tom Cruise speaking. He's like, we got the safety guy in. And he was like, this is what I want to do, blah, blah, blah. I want to scale a fucking skyscraper. I want to fly off a plane. I want to do all this shit." And he said the safety guy was like, "No, you can't do that. That's unsafe." And then Matt Damon's like, so he says, "So I got another safety guy." Yeah. And that was the story. Like, I thought that was fun. But yeah, I think he's a piece of shit. But I really love Eyes Wide Shut, and I really love Top Gun, so I can see past it for both of those flicks.
I like him. I bet he's a good guy.
He seems like a fucking robot, but I don't.
Hell yeah!
Yeah, I don't think I've ever. I don't think I've ever seen a movie with him in it where I was like, "Oh God, yeah, Tom Cruise."
I'd say Top Gun fits that bill. Top Gun.
No, that's just like
unimpeachable.
To me, hindsight being what it is, and seeing it 30 years after it came out, Top Gun is 80 minutes of dick measuring, and then some ambiguous enemy shows up in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, so when you're like 14 and you see that for the first time, it's like, fuck yeah, that's my shit. So
will this hurt you? I've never seen any of the Mission Impossible movies.
No, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, okay. I don't think you're missing out much.
No. I will say the first one's fucking cool. It's really cool. And it's a weird, it's almost like a Bond film mixed with something else that I can't put my finger on. But I think it's very singular in its, like, I feel like you could separate Mission Impossible 1 from everything else. Like, Ving Rhames is awesome. Jean Reno's fucking awesome in it. John Voight is badass in it. You even got a small bit cameo from, like, Emilio Estevez, which I feel like during that time was not common to like, you know, fit a cameo of someone in like that, the way that they did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mission Impossible 2 sucks ass. The third one I saw bits and pieces of. It's got what's his face? Philip Seymour Hoffman in it. He's always great and everything. I haven't seen. What are they on? Like Mission Impossible fucking 9 now? It's turned into like Fast and the Furious. I cut myself off really like after 3 or 2. So.
Well, they stopped numbering them. Now they just give them different
it's like
titles.
Ghost Protocol and fucking
exactly.
whatever. And you got Henry Cavill.
Part 1, Part 2.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of that shit. And the only thing I think I've seen recently of Tom Cruise that I really like is that scream that he does in The Mummy. That's become like a meme now. That
no idea what you're talking about,
dude.
I fucking dare you to watch Top Gun Maverick. And tell me
I don't
it's not
believe that that's a real movie because, you know, I saw commercials for it for 3 years and it never released.
I watched a cam of it and I was like, okay, that's all right.
I will send you $20.
Did the
in cash
Hindi subtitles at the bottom really add to the immersion? You felt like you were at a theater?
Say that one more time.
Did the foreign subtitles at the bottom of the cam add to the immersion?
Oh no, I watched it in theaters, brother. This scumbag piece of shit in the middle.
Yeah. I watched a cam of it and I was like, I wasn't very impressed. I was like,
yeah, Tom Cruise is destitute, Jim, and you're just taking what little money he has out of his pocket.
Fuck all them.
Yeah.
Hard left turn. Have you ever seen The Edge?
Oh yeah.
Anthony Hopkins. Because to me, I watched that like a year ago and I was like, this is the most Jim core movie I've ever seen.
No way. I would never say that, but the part where Harold Perrineau gets his fucking leg fucked up was a traumatic event, 1997-ish, 13-year-old brain. I remember seeing that and I was like, oh God. Like he's going to lose. He's like, am I going to lose my leg? It's like, yeah, man, you're going to die probably. Yeah. I have like the Edge is dope.
When you find out he didn't leave the bloody rags behind, he brought him with him.
That motherfucker.
It's like, you stupid bitch.
Yep. Good times.
R.I.P.
The Edge.
When I think of Jim movies, I think of like The Edge or Dante's Peak.
No, you got me all wrong.
Oh,
this is all.
No, you're talking about these are my movies, brother.
Well, then we can hang out.
Dude, Dante's Peak is fucking like that was
good.
Right. That was right on the edge of like Deep Impact and like Volcano with Tommy Lee Jones. It was like the disaster, like even maybe Independence Day was kind of riding that like apocalyptic wave kind of thing.
Yeah,
there's a good one.
There's another podcast I used to listen to called Worst Movie Ever, and they reviewed Dante's Peak.
It Follows.
No, they reviewed Dante's Peak, and there's a part where the guy mentions something, and one of the other hosts starts laughing so hard he throws up, and they all start laughing. He's like, "Did you just throw up?" And you can hear him. He's like, because he's fucking laughing so hard because it's such a ridiculous ass movie. Yeah.
It was probably the scene where the grandmother has to wade through a lake of
I think
sulfur.
I think that's what it was. Honestly, I swear to God. Yeah, there's so yeah. No, I'm more like if we're cherry picking out of that era, I'm more like Executive Decision with Kurt Russell and the cameo from Steven Seagal, John Leguizamo, Spawn with Michael Jai White.
It's all Greek to me.
All right. Question to you, Chris. Do you have anything that you think would fit the podcast for a potential future episode that you think would mesh or that you'd be interested in talking about, like on a future episode?
Well, one thing I did mention, and you push back a little bit, but the reason I mentioned it was Riccio, story of Ricky. Then maybe that's too deep of a cut for your show. I don't know really 100%, the direction you want to take, but I felt like that is the all killer, no filler version of something like Versus.
Yeah.
So maybe we could redeem that in the eyes of Steve.
Yeah. And I wouldn't say push back, I think is a little too strong, but I just don't think we were there yet, or maybe just timing wise. But I do think that would be a good redemption kind of for that kind of same style of film, just it done in a different way. And I do think I agree that I think Steve might get a little more out of that.
Yeah, for sure. And also like fucking Unforgiven. That's that's top 10 for me. So I know you guys do a lot of Westerns, so maybe you want to lay off on that a little bit.
Yeah, that's one I could put in my back pocket maybe for later, because that is one that I can truly say I've only seen once, because I never saw it, and then after watching a few Westerns, I noticed that, oh yeah, I got like an Academy Award, and it was like a return to form for Clint Eastwood in Westerns, and he made a leap from directing it, and it was highly acclaimed. And I remember watching it, and maybe I overhyped it in my head, or I was expecting a little bit something maybe with a harder edge on it, and it kind of fell flat. But it's been at least 10 years, probably more, that I've seen that. So I'd be willing to give Unforgiven a fair shake, because honestly, I don't even remember why I didn't like it. I just remember that I didn't like it, or it didn't meet up to my expectation. So,
dude,
yep,
that could be a good
Clint
one
Eastwood,
on the list.
Morgan Freeman, Gene Hackman, Saul Rubinek, Richard Harrison, all-star cast.
Yeah, we'll put it in the old on the old list for sure. Okay,
we should have Chris back for that one.
Yeah,
and hopefully in between he can watch McCabe and Mrs. Dogshit. And I mean, not to influence his opinion, but I'm curious to hear what he thinks.
If anything, I'm a contrarian, so you're only convincing me to like it.
I mean, I love the film, so I mean, I dare you to not like it because it's so great. But
or
me sobering up.
Don't fuck.
I'm very deep into made for TV movies, so if you ever want to do like some weird made for TV shit, yeah,
I'll hit you with one. I'm curious. Have you ever seen the movie Lisa?
I have.
With the gal, one of the main gals. She's from. She was on Step by Step. I think her name is like Stacy something.
I actually just this week watched another made for TV movie with her in it that was about a pair of neighbors where one of
teen
the
pregnancies involved.
No, one of the neighbors' children drowns in the other neighbor's pool.
Okay.
And yeah, it was weird. I also watched one where the dad from Boy Meets World. Okay, let me start off. There's a man and a wife, and they hate each other. The man has a stroke the night that him and his wife are about to like call it quits, and he ends up in a wheelchair. Then the dad from Boy Meets World comes in and proceeds to cuck this guy for 90 minutes. And it has possibly the weirdest tone I've ever seen in a movie. Because it's just like, oh, that rascal, like fucking my wife. Like I just had a stroke. It's so fucking weird.
What's it called?
Let me look
Schindler's List.
Dude, let me look at my letterbox real quick.
That would be funny. Is it though? I think was it recent where you said your only line was this movie's fucking weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
My review of it was this movie is so fucking weird.
Okay. I thought that might be, instead of trying to cater to like me thinking of a deep cut and trying also to cater to Steve, like I think he might like this one. I think it might be fun to just go off the res and like pick something outlandish, like an old Lifetime style, like B movie. Could be fun.
That was called A Husband, a Wife, and a Lover.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Pretty self-explanatory. But there's there's a good made for TV movie called Wheels of Terror that's speed, but if the bus drops below 60 miles an hour, a a pedophile abducts your child.
Oh, that's an interesting twist. Instead of the bus blowing up.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Dude, there's another one actually I was thinking about. I want to say it's either Brad Pitt or Juliette Lewis is in it, and it's an old like Lifetime-ish kind of B movie.
Those two are easily confusable, those two.
Practically the same person.
Well, they were in a spate of like early and late 90s films that are kind of trashy and similar. So on its face, yeah, it seems ridiculous. But if you dig into it, they were in a lot of weird shit. But one in particular, Steve, the one was filmed at the then old Thunderbird Hotel. Like there's like a police shootout scene in Chico, California that I can't remember. I want to say it's Brad Pitt. He plays the bad guy, but maybe he's not. And I think it's Juliette Lewis that's like held hostage. But there's an old like Lifetime, like it's weird. Like I say Lifetime, but I don't think it was a Lifetime. There was a bunch of movies that
it's like a catch-all.
Yeah. Just kind of like a shitty, like maybe it was made for TV, maybe it wasn't. It was just direct to VHS kind of like movie. But my wife actually likes a lot of that shit, and she turned me on to like Lisa. Like I watched that like a few years ago, and like on its face, on paper, hate this movie. Would never watch it. Would never go out of my way to watch it. But I watched it. I was like, that was pretty good. It was entertaining. Like in a way that I wouldn't expect. So that might be interesting to just take a hard left onto something like that.
Good. It's all so good. There's a trilogy of movie called Family of Cops, starring Charles Bronson and Daniel Baldwin.
Okay, Jesus Christ! I need to go eat some fucking dinner.
Go eat some dinner.
Yeah, we've gone on quite a long time. Damn, it's midnight my time.
Don't edit anything.
You don't think so?
No, I don't care.
All right, fair enough. All right, well,
I may have snuck in some racial slurs here and there that you didn't catch.
No, I think
if you don't edit it, that's up to you. But
I think you were pretty tame this episode. So, all right, that'll do it for us. Let us know what you thought. Leave us a rating, review, smash the like, the bell, subscribe, like. Goodbye.
Send us hate mail.
Yeah, please. That'll be fun.
Thanks to Chris for coming on.
Yeah.
Wow. Guanzo.
Oh shit, dude. Sorry. I'm like 3 shits to the wind here. Also, yes, Chris, thank you very much for coming on. Special guest, 3-time returning champ. He also has a website, and he doesn't do a podcast anymore, but it's called Channel 83. It's awesome. Fucking check it out. The backlog. I think there's some changes to that too. You have an archive rolling over to something. You want to speak to that real quick before we hop off, Chris?
Yeah, it's on archive.org. And also you can follow me at Steve Go Eat Some Dinner on Twitter.
Hell yeah. What a guy.
He's being modest. You're on Twitter at channel83.com.
I'm actually not on Twitter anymore.
Oh, okay, dude. I was trying to prep up a fucking post, and I was trying to put the @ and I was like, dude, he's on here. What the fuck, Twitter? Elon Musk.
I changed it to Steve Eat Dinner.
Okay, make sure to update the
Papa Hungry.
Oh, hey, by the way, dude, I've unlocked the fucking secret to chili cheese burritos out here. A big thing out here in the Midwest also is coney sauce. They call it coney sauce. It's chili with no beans, and the meat is like finely fucking diced, like really thin, like the chili cheese burrito consistency. And they add some kind of spice, or there's something in there. I swear to God, it's chili cheese burrito. I put that shit and sharp cheddar sprinkled in a flour tortilla. Dude, I've unlocked the code.
Don't give away all the secrets.
I ain't never paying $3 for a the most bullshit chili cheese burrito you've ever seen at Taco Bell ever again. The only reason I'll go there is Baja Blast, so fuck off.
That's insane. Everything you just said is insane.
No, it's not. All right. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. And next week, I don't know. I think we're trying to tie up part 3 of the Coors Light Chronicles with Dick Dog. So if everything stays the same, that's what we'll be talking about. So we'll wrap up his story. And thanks for joining us. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.